Who wants to smoke? Who wants to smoke? Yeah. Who wants to smoke? Yeah. Temperatures going up, the heat is rising, scholars showing up, audience vibing. We on a mission, competition is the only desire. Whose information will be facing the mercy of fire? So step up, stand up, can you walk through hell? So tough, too tough for the weak soft shell. Set the fire, fan the flame, smoke is rising in blooms. While the inexperienced today just does the choke on the fumes. Bring your science, bring the wisdom, even bring your religion. If you can't stand the heat, then please don't come in the HOK. It's just a session, learn a lesson, fight and overcome oppression. Who'll be the best debated by the time all the smoke clears? Who wants to smoke? The smoke. This environment is the toughest, so bring your best in, put your spirit to the test. You stepping into the ring with the scholar, with the no digits harder. I will make you holler in the information flow with power. You wanted to peak, the elite, the undisputed. Now watch as your outdated theories get refuted. I'm posted in the den, let the world burn. Pressure in the room, it's finally my turn. They want the smoke, I'm the whole forest fire. Watch the oxygen vanish as the flames climb higher. My mind is the weapon, I'm no joke. I'm the baddest, I come for the smoke. No joke, I'm the baddest to ever breathe. I don't play house, I make them leave. Smoke session. Smoke, 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 smoke session.
Opening. You got 3 minutes. Time will start when you're ready, brother. Time will start when you're ready. Are you sharing anything or you just gonna open up?
Man. This is just an open, man. We're gonna open up. We're just gonna go with it.
Time will start when you're ready.
We're gonna talk about it. All right, I'm ready. Let's go. So the topic of this debate, family, was the New Testament heavily influenced by Greek philosophy? That is the topic of the debate that we discussed, we agreed on. Was the New Testament heavily influenced by Greek philosophy? There's some things we got to understand about this, family. Is that tonight in this debate, I'm going to show and prove that the New Testament is a Hebraic theological text. That's all that it is, the New Testament. It is not Greek philosophy. The New Testament and its founding tenets, right, which is evident in the philosophy that dates back over thousands of years, the philosophy of Chokmah, right, which is wisdom in the Hebrew, as arguably influenced by the ancient Near Eastern Babylonian material culture, tenets and philosophies long before Greek philosophy ever existed. Greek philosophy is clearly and diametrically opposed to the adherents of Greek culture, Greek thought, and philosophy, right? You cannot tell me an apple is an orange simply because they're both fruit. They're not the same. The seeds are not the same. The origins is not the same. But can they both be called fruit? Absolutely. Absolutely. So let's not get caught up in whether or not language determines people's thoughts and actions. There are many of us in here who are African descendants of slaves. Our ancestors are Africans. They were brought over here. They learned the English language in order to survive. But our African tenets still existed. Language no more makes those of us here today Europeans, most of us who are African Americans watching the stream, language makes no more of us have European mindsets simply because we learned the English language. If that's the case, why are we here on the HOK? The House of Consciousness is Black consciousness, not European consciousness, but guess what? We all speak together in a language that we can understand each other. We speak the English language. We often on this channel talk about we are African first, we are African people, or those who hail from the ancient Near East or ancient Kemet. Simply because we speak a language does not affect or deter how we think about ourselves as a people. It doesn't define our culture. It doesn't define our culture. We express our culture through language, but the language does not define our culture. Our culture comes from our experiences. Our cultures come from our ancestors. And tonight I'm going to show why many people fail in believing that Greek philosophy somehow, because of language, influenced Hebraic theological texts. It's false. Who did it?
All right. Thank you, my brother Yara. Powerful opening. Now let's get on over to our brother Lexx Vortex. Same thing, brother. You got 3 minutes in your opening round to set the tone. Let the people know what you're here to prove. And time will start when you're ready, brother.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm ready. Can you hear me?
Hear you loud and clear.
All right. All right, people. I think Yara seen my first slide about language. Listen, yes, language does determine and has a big thing to do with culture. It's not the only thing, but I will be showing you today is not only through the language, that language sets the framework for thought and culture, but the framework of Christianity could not exist without the Greek language. Could not even exist. There's certain, and I'll be showing you today why that is important. All right. And I'll even go off of what Yara just said. He just actually proved my point. I'm glad he said that, because in America, are we Africans? Genetically, we Africans, but one of the biggest part of why we lost our African heritage is because we lost the language. Why do you think they outlawed us speaking the language? Because the language, there's certain words, there's certain concepts that can't be even expressed in certain language. Like in Latin, there's no the. There's no concept of the this. You know what I'm saying? You're going to find out when I go deep into this, you're going to find out that Christianity can't be expressed in Hebrew. And it's going to be so important how we understand that the Jews were speaking Greek. The Septuagint is in Greek. Apostle Paul is quoting the Septuagint, and so is Jesus. It's Greek. You can't get around the language. But we also going to talk about the philosophy of Christianity. You're going to find out that in Christianity is so far removed in certain aspects from Hebrew thought, it's purely Greek. Matter of fact, the Hellenized Jews, that's who created Christianity. They set the framework for Christianity. There's no way to get around it. And not only that, when we start talking about the Bible and its writings, I'm going to show you that some of it is purely Greek, copied from Greek. Now, it's easy. Listen, Yara thinks I'm probably going to come in here and just show him the Greek philosophers that Paul quoted so he can use Christian apologetics to say, oh, no, he was just trying to relate to the audience. No, there was definitely quotes Paul is using from Greek philosophers that he acts like is God's words that are not even unique at all. Then we're going to go. Okay.
All right, time. Thank you. Thank you. Powerful opening from both of you brothers. Now we're going to move right into your first round, Elder Yara. You have 15 minutes in your round to prove your point. Time will start when you're ready, brother.
Yes, sa.neter, while I'm about to share my screen, can you do me a favor?
What's that, brother?
And show the flyer and show
Okay.
the flyer that you got in the
Yeah.
background and let
Yes,
everybody know what the topic of this debate is.
Okay. Well, as you do that, let me go and get the
All right.
flyer. The flyer is up. You can read it, Yara. It's up.
Okay. The topic of this debate, family.
You chopping, you breaking up, Yara. You're breaking up.
Can you hear me?
You're breaking up, Elder Yara.
Can you hear me?
I hear you now.
I'm breaking up. Don't know
Yeah,
what
you're
I'm
breaking
doing.
up. Breaking up.
You hear me now? Okay.
Yes, I hear you now.
We already know what. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I hear you.
Okay. We know what the title of this debate is. The title of this debate was Greek philosophy. Then it influenced the New Testament. The Greek philosophy heavily influenced the New Testament. The Christianity talk comes way later.
I'm starting the time.
Right? Christianity.
Oh.
Hey,
I'm
bro,
starting your time.
I gotta.
Hold up, Yara. Yeah, see, hold on, brother. Are you ready to go? Are you ready?
Yeah, I can't hear you.
You can't hear me? Go out and come back in. Go out and come back in.
Okay.
Hold
All
on.
right.
I thought the topic was Christianity. sa.neter. Y'all put the New Testament.
It's been that all the time.
Okay, it's the same thing. I mean, the New Testament, it's the same thing.
But
whatever.
that's what you said. You're the one that made that topic. You said,
yeah.
Okay. When you text me.
Okay, yeah, it's all good.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. New
Right,
Testament means Christianity. So I don't. He sound like he's about to try to. y'all pray to Yahweh, nigga. Get your internet right, nigga, because you about to get bodied, dude.
All right, everybody out there, just give us a minute on Elder. Y'all
while he's waiting, I want to let y'all know this is gonna be a thorough body, and y'all and the true God. Yahweh don't even want him right now in this debate. That's why his internet's messing up. So for Dahl that came through, welcome to the debate, man.
All right, we got you back. Yeah, right. You ready?
Yeah, can you hear me clear?
All right, you want me to put this back up and then that's your time? You ready to go?
Yeah, can you hear me though?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear. You hear me?
Okay, good. Yeah, I can hear you. All right.
Okay, time will start when you're ready.
Okay, I'm ready. The title of this debate, family, was The New Testament Heavily Influenced by Greek Philosophy. That's the title of this debate. So for the portion of this debate, and I understand he may have thought that the topic might have been Christianity, which is what I keep hearing him say. But we're specifically talking about the Hebraic text of the New Testament. He talked about the Septuagint. Is it written in Greek? Yes, it has been translated into Greek. But what is the thought behind it? What is the thought behind it? This goes into influence. It doesn't matter what language we speak it in or what language we translate it in. If my thought about it doesn't change, there's no influence to be proven. And the only way that you can prove any influence, and he can prove any influence that's been made, is that we have to see a change in the material culture of the Israelites. He has to show Jesus, the apostles, and everyone else that's writing, the narrators of the New Testament, he has to show where they were not keeping the laws of Moses. He has to show where they were keeping Greek customs. He's not going to be able to tell you that. He can talk about how Paul used the Greek language in order to get across his idea for them to understand the meaning of the unknown God. He doesn't understand that was a slap in the face of the Greeks. And he used their own polemics, their own poets, to tell them and say, listen, your poets are telling you that you are following many different gods. The idea behind your culture is polytheism. But he says here, listen, look at the unknown God here. This is the one true God that we follow in Israel. This is the one true God. right? Whether it's monotheism, henotheism, it is the one true God, not many gods that they believe in and follow. So he doesn't understand the idea of why Paul even used Greek terminology. Doesn't understand it. If I'm telling you, I'm going to use, I'm going to quote, as we know many times, Khalid Muhammad. He's quoted the KKK. He's made, he's quoted racists to prove a point that Black people cannot be friends or be sides with these particular people simply because of the things that they teach. We have many Black leaders who quote Europeans, but they're not European thought base behind it. The thought base behind it is to uplift a certain people. And simply because you use a language or an example of a language does not mean that that follows your belief system. And we're going to show that, right? That even though Paul may have used, and I heard my brother say this, even though he may have used Greek polemics or Greek poets to teach his thought and understanding of the Hebrew text, not that he followed their tenets or their belief systems. So let me share my screen. Let me show my screen.
Real quick while you're sharing your screen. In this debate, because this is such a high level debate, I will stop your time when y'all need time to stop because we want the people to get the information. So I got you on pause right now. You got 11 minutes and 30 seconds, Elder Yara, until you're ready. Same with you, Lex. If you need me to stop your time, say, "Sir, hold my time." Just let me know. I want the people to get the information. All right. Let me know when you're ready, Elder Yara. We will resume your time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Screen is sharing.
All right, I'm ready.
All right.
You hear me? I'm ready.
Yes, you on.
Yep, I'm ready.
Yes, your time is gone.
Again, we have to start with the methodology, right? Greek philosophy, which derived its origin from attested Babylonian philosophers or archons or sages, is distinct from Hebrew thought and philosophy due to the fundamentally different approach to knowledge or gnosis, focusing on rational inquiry and logical deduction to understand the world. In other words, Greek philosophy, we can show and prove, comes out of Babylonian philosophical traditions. It does not stand on its own in origin, and we're going to show that tonight. Hebrew thought and philosophy is primarily concerned with ethical conduct and the relationship with God, grounded in divine revelation through scripture, making them inherently separate entities, despite some potential overlapping concepts. This distinction can be analyzed through a compare and contrast methodological approach, examining the core tenets and central texts and mythologies of reasoning. And so what I'm going to show you tonight is my methodology for this debate. I'm going to show you a compare and a contrast. I'm going to show you what Greek thought taught, and I'm going to show you what Hebrew thought taught. And you guys tell me if it is the same. And who's going to argue that the Hebrew thought was not the basis of the New Testament scriptures? As a matter of fact, it is the basis of Christianity. But let's continue. Right? I don't know if you can see my screen, man, because I can't really see good. The New Testament is centered around Yahushua, Yeshua, aka Jesus the Christ, and the Acts of the Apostles. What did Jesus say about keeping the law of Moses? Jesus regularly called the Pharisees out for not following the law of Moses. That's in Matthew chapter 22, 34 through 40, and Mark chapter 12, 28 and 34. Let's go to Matthew 19 and 17 through 19. But if you want to enter into life, keep the commandments. He said to him, which ones? Jesus said, you shall not murder, you shall not commit adultery, you shall not steal, you shall not bear false witness, honor your father and your mother, and you shall love your neighbor as yourself. That's Matthew chapter 19, verse 17 to 19. That's Yahushua teaching. Where did he get that philosophy from? The law of Moses required children to honor their parents. That's Moses in Exodus chapter 20, verse 12. The gospel requires children to obey their parents in the Lord. Paul taught that in Ephesians chapter 6, verses 1 through 4. The law of Moses prohibited murder. That's taught by Moses in Exodus chapter 20, verses 13. The gospel prohibits hatred for your brother. That's 1 John 3 and 15. So we can go through each and every gospel in the New Testament and each and every epistle of Paul in the New Testament and show where it's based on Hebraic thought, not Greek philosophy. In order for you to prove Greek philosophy had a heavy influence, you have to show where they changed their behavior and their actions when it came to keeping the law of Moses. You're not going to be able to show it. Right? Let's continue. New Testament against Greek philosophy. Key points to consider where my interlocutor arguments fail. No Greek influence in New Testament origin or beliefs. The New Testament primarily draws from Jewish scriptures and traditions. They focus on the life, teachings, death, and resurrection of Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ, Yeshua Yahushua, is the ground basis and the whole purpose for the New Testament. That's what it is. To bring those back to Yah, back into the fold. Jesus said, I come to the lost sheep of Israel. He says, I did not come to destroy the law of Moses, but to fulfill it. That is the groundwork, the basis, and the origin of the Hebrew thought in the text. You cannot extrapolate that out and say that that's Greek philosophy, because Greek philosophy is diametrically opposed to all of those tenets. Contrasting worldviews, debunking Greek influence in the New Testament. While some Greek philosophical concepts might seem similar on the surface, a deeper analysis reveals significant differences. For example, Greek philosophy often focuses on achieving personal virtue through reason and logic, while the New Testament emphasizes salvation with the faith in Yahweh through the truth of Jesus Christ. They're diametrically opposed. So where's the influence? Early writers' resistance to Greek philosophy is evident in the New Testament. Some New Testament authors, like Paul, actively criticize certain aspects of Greek philosophy, considering them incompatible with the message of Yahushua. Let's continue. Right? Let me go down here. The ethical continuity between the Old Testament and New Testament is also seen in frequency within Jesus' apostles and the quotes, and they echo the Proverbs. We're going to get into the Proverbs up to the 35 times, according to some estimates. Jesus quoted or alluded to Proverbs multiple times, including in his first public sermon, the Sermon on the Mount. In the first 30 verses of the sermon, some count at least 7 references to Proverbs, none of the Greek philosophers. Where is Christ being influenced by Greek philosophy? The New Testament is about him. Christianity even is about him, Lex. Where's the influence, right? You just want to argue language. Christ, the Revelation chapter 18, verse 4 says, come out of her. Why is this important in this conversation? Come out of her, my people. Least you share in her sins, and least you receive of her plagues. Revelation chapter 18, verse 4. Though this verse specifically refers to coming out of an end-time religious system, Babylon the Great, it aligns with other verses that admonish us to come out of evil societies in order to faithfully worship your Most High and follow his teachings. What are being told to come out of? Babylon. And I'm going to show you why all of these verses are important to this argument, right? This is chapter 10 from my book that I'm reading, but I have the sources here that I'm writing, that the Hebrew is not Greek. 21 scholars in support the Hebraic influence and origins of the New Testament. Linguistic and biblical authorities and scholars are in support of this. It says, nor do the other words used in various translations at Matthew chapter 27, verse 18, as spite, jealousy, malice, represent the real motives that spurred Jesus' arraignment. The motivation must be sought from another viewpoint. Jesus not only advocated an examination and renewal of Jewish ethical ideas, let me go down, and a reversal in charge in Jewish law, but he manifestly was a political danger to the state. What state? What state? The Hellenized state, the Greek state, the Roman state. Overtly, Jesus was considered a king, and this was the charge inscribed as the reason in the Tertullus at the cross, actually as a modern direct argument to his teachings, which based in Hebraic thought, right? So let me go into this right real quick. And this is the Aramaic origin of the four Gospels, right? Let me see what we could do here. I want to show you guys this. We're going to see a lot of them for Lexx.
You have 3 minutes.
You got 3 minutes. Let me see if it loads here, right?
Hey,
so here it is. The evidence
let
from
him get his information out, man. I don't care about the time. Let him get his
Yes,
information.
you can't talk. You can't speak, brother.
Okay, we'll talk about it. It says here, I'll start here. And this is the Aramaic did not have on this occasion the usual etar, but meteor, one of abundance. It talks about this here. One has abundance of things, who has more than he needs, who has excess baggage, so to speak, which one will prevent him from entering the kingdom of God. The translator rendered mater as rich, right? But here the Brown's digger, everything he listed 528, the Akkadian Aturo, or here now everything falls into place. If a man is not rich but has more than he needs, then he therefore cannot enter the kingdom of God. The disciples had reason to worry. Jesus parries this by saying that with God all is possible. What is so important about this text? Because we get down here and it tells us that Jesus used and spoke often in Aramaic. He never spoke in Greek. When he's talking about the Septuagint that he speaks of is what was translated. But what did those actual people speak? We know that Christ often spoke Aramaic. How do we know this? Because you can translate most of the Greek language goes back in the Septuagint. You can translate it back perfectly into the Aramaic. And the only way that is possible is that it was originally written by those with Aramaic thought and process and Hebrew thought. That's the only way that this works, right? And so this is to show that Christ spoke Aramaic often, the Aramaic origin of the four Gospels. This is what it's talking about. You can go through all of the Gospels and you'll see it clearly littered with Aramaic. When Jesus was on the cross, what did he say? Eli, Eli, ala sabachthani. He didn't speak Greek. He spoke in the Galilean Aramaic, which was the language of his people. Where is the Greek influence even in the language? You're not going to show us any text where Christ spoke Greek. But you will see it amongst the scholars where he spoke Aramaic. That is exactly what you will see. Let's deal with this because this is his argument, right? It says Hebrew and Aramaic words in the Greek New Testament. How did this happen? Right? The New Testament was originally written in Koine Greek. It was not written in Hebrew.
All right. Powerful information, Brother Yara. We got through the first round with Brother Yara. Yes. Yes.
Let him go, bro. The people.
No, that's not how it go, brother. It's rounds. That's how it goes.
This is a lot of information we got to get it because I'm
not gonna get it. That's why we said 3 rounds. Get your PowerPoint up. Let's get it in.
All right.
Yeah, there's a we got to follow the schedule, the program.
Yeah.
Now we could have did it like that, where you could have just let them get. It could have been a 1 round thing for both of y'all.
No.
Okay,
I get it. I see how you're doing it. So we're gonna get to continue in the second round. The stuff we don't finish. All right.
There you go. And then the third round.
Okay.
So let's go. Let's get your joint up. I see it. There it is right there. Let me know when you're ready and you got your 15 minutes. Also, let me know if you need me to stop your time for any reason.
All right. All right, y'all. Let's go. I'm ready.
All right.
Somebody need to mute up. Got a feed. All right. Can you hear me? Cool.
Yes, I hear you.
All right. Jews are Greek freaks? That is the question. As y'all see, I have the Greek freak on the screen because you're going to find out that the Jews are Greek freaks, and that's what they became. There's no question about it. There's no doubt about it. We're going to show that in detail. First thing I want to deal with is what we started dealing with in the beginning, and that's how language affects culture and beliefs. Humans think through the language they speak. There's no way of getting around that. You understand what I'm saying? He's trying to throw some Aramaic stuff. Bro, the Jews spoke Greek, and we're going to show that. You know what I'm saying? So let's go here. Language, and this is from Dr. Nasi Mali from page 2. He's the head of the English department at Galab University in terms of language and what he has to say about language. Language can influence culture in a variety of ways. It can influence the way a community perceives the world and create community through the use of varying languages and dialects in different areas. It can both influence the way a society interacts with the world and create a cultural identity separate from the rest of the world. That's what I was talking about language earlier, how we lost our culture and why we must regain our language in order to get our culture back. That was a big part of the loss of our identity, was the loss of our language. You think through your language. Vocabulary can be a way for the young to separate themselves from their elders and reinforce their understanding of the world. The words in a language also affect how an individual perceives the world. Yara. That's why, do you know when they say when you learn another language, you actually become smarter in terms of your perception? Because the language speaks. In some languages, words are male and female. That changes how you view the word or the object that it's describing. Let's go on to the next slide. How the Septuagint changed the world. This is from jewishhistory.org. The hell in Hellenism. And this becomes very important. Despite advantages to teaching a non-Jewish world the written Torah, the sages of Israel did not welcome the opportunity. The day when the Torah was written in Greek was as unfortunate for Israel as the day of the golden calf, Sopharim 1:7. This is how the real Jews feel. You got to go, if you want to learn about history and what's going on, you got to ask the real Jews, not these new age dudes that just came out of William Crowdy. They don't know what they're talking about. They don't know the history. That's why I'm reading this. They even combined it with the two tragedies, the death of Ezra and the breaching of the wall of Jerusalem. That's how the real Jews felt about the Septuagint being translated out of their language, and made it a public fast day, the 10th of Teves. Perhaps the lesson was because they saw that the translation would open the door for usurpers and new religions claiming to supplant and succeed the Torah. And that's what happened, ain't it? Yara? At the same time, the translation gave a dangerous stamp of approval to Greek language and culture. This is what the real Jews say. This allowed Greek culture and values to enter the Jewish world. I can end the debate right there, but there's much more. This allowed Greek culture and values to enter this is what the real Jews say. And you run into a real Jew, I guarantee you, they will spit on the Septuagint. They might use it for a reference, study. From the time of the Septuagint onward, it was very hard to draw a line and say, we are going to take this amount of Greek culture, but we are not going to take the rest. What is going to happen is that they are going to take the rest. They are going to become more Greek than the Greeks, which is a Jewish trait. There were Jews The Jews were super German, super socialists, and are super Americans because the burden is upon them to prove themselves. Some of the same article from jewishhistory.org, The Hell in Hellenism. About 200 BC, there arose among the Jewish population a group called the Misyanim. He don't know about that because he's not a Jew. Black Hebrew Israelites don't know who the Misyanim is. Meaning Hellenists who adopted Greek culture as a way of life to such a degree that almost invariable they gave up their Jewish culture and identity. As time passed, more and more Jews not only spoke like Greeks, but took on their customs, attitudes, and behaviors, which on so many levels were antithetical to the values of Judaism. Estimates are, now listen, this is a key number I need y'all to pay attention to. 30 to 40% of the Jewish population became Hellenists. Most of the upper class was simply swept away by this tide of Hellenistic thought. What is he talking about? 40% Hellenized, speaking Greek, hating them, and there's more to this. There's more to this. Some were no doubt simply ignorant of Jewish life and tradition. Others, however, became vicious self-haters. The Greeks found many willing collaborators among the Jews in their attempt to eradicate Judaism and install the more enlightened pagan cultures of theirs in Israel. These Hellenist Jews hated their brethren and openly sided with the enemies of Israel who attempted to destroy the Jewish nation and faith. This is why, if you know the history, you can see the split in the New Testament. Why Jesus, the character, is arguing with Jews. Why Paul is arguing with Jews. So you got to know the history, rah. Not just you were putting up some apologetics. This, you got to know what's going on at the time. And then you can see in the scriptures why Paul is fighting with the Jews, why Christ himself is fighting with the Pharisees and the Jews and calling them the devil. See, you're looking at the Bible as the historic. No, the Bible is, the New Testament has a little historical background, but you don't know the historical background, so you can't put together why you're seeing what you see. Why Jesus would tell the Jews, you don't know my father, as they had different fathers. Actually, let me do this real quick. I want to take this down. Hold on. Let's start with something like the virgin birth. I want to show y'all something. Let me go back. The virgin birth. To further show and prove that without the framework of the Greek language, you would not have one of the essential doctrines of Christianity, which is the virgin birth. Let me remove this real quick. Because I want to pull this up.
Let me know if you need me to stop your time.
Yeah, stop the time real quick.
All right. You got 6 minutes and 43 seconds left.
I want to show y'all something, how language affected this doctrine. Let me share my screen. All right. This is from that same article from jewishhistory.org. Okay. It is important to realize the most widely used version of the Christian Bible, the King James Version, is not a translation of the Hebrew Bible. It is a translation from the Greek Bible. That is one of the reasons why there are so many errors, mistranslation, and lost nuances. Just to give an example, the Septuagint was translated by the Catholic Church into a Latin Bible, the Vulgate. The famous King James Version is basically a translation of the Latin version. Therefore, it is the English translation of a Latin translation of a Greek translation of the Hebrew Bible. That is like playing telephone. What someone says at the beginning is not going to come out exactly the same at the end. Maimonides identifies a number of places where the basic ideas of Christianity are based simply on bad knowledge of Hebrew or a lack of translation. Classic example is the story of the virgin birth. The Christian Bible attributes it to a verse in the prophet Isaiah. The Hebrew word there is not virgin, but alma, which means a young girl. Now, a young girl can be a virgin, but if the prophet wanted to emphasize the miraculous nature of an event and leave no room for misinterpretation, there is a better, unique Hebrew word for virgin. The Greek word, however, for young girl and virgin is the same. You see where we going here? This is how they got mixed. This is how the framework, part of the language of Greek, frames Christianity. Therefore, in the Septuagint, when the translation of the prophet Isaiah was written, they used the Greek word that means either young girl or virgin. In the Latin translation, only the word virgin already appears. Latin readers in the Roman Catholic Church saw this as an unmistakable reference to the doctrine of Immaculate Conception. One of the reasons the Protestants departed from the Catholic Church many centuries later was because Luther and others complained about that mistranslation. They refused to accept the doctrine of Immaculate Conception simply because they were biblical scholars enough to know that is not what it said in the original. This is just one example. The late Rabbi Reuven Mongalese, and I tell you, if you want to learn the Torah, please find your nearest rabbi and not a New Age Black Hebrew Israelite from Chicago. Please. This is just one example. The late Rabbi Reuven Mongalese, a great Torah scholar, also a self-taught Greek and Latin scholar, one of his many books is devoted to pointing out all the places where the Septuagint is different than the original Hebrew text. He found about 700 such variations, and he had an explanation to every one of the places why he did it. Let me get back to my presentation. You can bring it back on board. Here's a quote from Nietzsche, a scholar, Greek philosopher, German philosopher. Christianity is Platonism for the people. And as we get into this debate, you're going to find out why Nietzsche, so they're making this up. And I'm going to show you many other scholars. Why did he say Christianity is Platonism for the people? This is a quote from his book, Beyond Good and Evil by Friedrich Nietzsche. You know, and just for fun, I asked AI. I asked AI, did Greek philosophy influence Christianity? AI says Platonism influenced Christianity in many ways, including the soul-body division. Plato's idea that the soul is more closely related to goodness and truth helped prepare the ground for Christianity's soul-body division. The theory of forms. Plato's theory of forms prefigured the Christian understanding of heaven as a perfect world, with the physical realm as its imitation. The nature of God. Platonism helped anchor the Christian understanding of God as an all-powerful, all-knowing, beyond human comprehension. The relationship between faith and reason, the nature of creation, the importance of virtue. But here's where the rubber meets the road, people. This is the father of Christianity. His name is Philo of Alexandria. He set the framework for the word or the logos in Christian theology. This is what I'm trying to tell y'all. Without Greek, they don't even have a framework for the logos, which it's just ridiculous. I don't know why y'all would even take this debate. It's silly. Philo of Alexandria, a Jewish exegete, was adopted by Christians as an honorary church father between the 2nd and 16th century CE. Early Christians referenced Philo in their writings to define the relationship between Christianity and Jewishness and to identify areas of overlap and convergence. I have to go take this off the screen for a second. How much time I got? I can't hear you.
I stopped it. You got 1 minute, 13 seconds.
Philo of Alexandria. You see my screen?
Yep.
Philo, this is utm.edu. Philo of Alexandria, a Hellenized Jew, also called Judaeus, a Hellenized Jew. Philo is a figure that spans two cultures, the Greek and the Hebrew. When Hebrew mythical thought met Greek philosophical thought in the 1st century BCE, it was only natural that someone would try to develop speculative and philosophical justification for Judaism in terms of Greek philosophy. Thus, Philo produced a synthesis of both traditions, developing concepts for future Hellenistic interpretation of Messianic Hebrew thought, especially by Clement of Alexandria, Christian apologists like Athenagoras, Theophilus, Justin Martyr, Tertullian by Origen. He may have influenced Paul, his contemporary, and perhaps the authors of the Gospel of John and the Epistle to the Hebrews. Let's go down further. There's so much information now. Philo's doctrine of creation. Philo attempts to bridge the Greek scientific or rational philosophy with the strictly mythical ideology of the Hebrew scripture. As a basis for the scientific approach, he uses the worldview presented by Plato and Timaeus, which remain influential in Hellenistic times. I got to move because times. Though Philo's model of creation comes from Plato's Timaeus, the direct agent of creation is not God himself, but the Logos. Philo believes that the Logos is the man of God or the shadow of God that was used as an instrument and a pattern of all creation. The Logos converted unqualified, unshaped, pre-existent matter, which Philo describes as destitute of arrangement, of quality, of animation, of distinctive character, and full of disorder and confusion, into four primordial elements. You understand what I'm saying? So for it is out of the essence of, this is what he said, for it is out of that essence that God created everything, without indeed touching it himself. For it was not lawful for all wise and all blessed God to touch materials which were all misshapen and confused. But he created them by the agency of incorporeal powers, of which the proper name is ideas, which he so exerted that every genius received its proper form. That's where you get this from, people. Let me get back, put my thing back on the screen, sa.neter.
Time. All right, brother Elder Yara, we have completed the first round. We're moving into the second round now. Put your screen on top. I can't hear you.
All right, I'm about to share my screen. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, about to share my screen. All right, my screen should be sharing. Can you see me, sa.neter?
Yep.
I'm gonna deal with this real quick and then I'm gonna move. How much time do I got?
You got 15 minutes in the second round.
15 minutes in the second round. Okay, great. Let's get it. So what you need to know, what y'all need to notice about what my interlocutor is just simply tried to do. He's still arguing about language. He has not shown influence at all whatsoever on the New Testament. He's only talking about Christianity, but he still has not shown influence in Christianity. And he just tried to use Philo completely out of context, right? What you never saw him present in all of that talking about Philo is any quotations or any sources that actually were quoting Philo himself. Watch this. All you heard was conjecture on Philo. Watch this. Clement on Philo. He says he was no innovator in this manner because already before him, Jewish scholars attempted the same, which was what? Antitrepanius in the 2nd century BCE identified Moses with Musaeus and with Orpheus. According to Estrobulus of Panius, the first half of the 2nd century BCE, Homer and Hesiod drew from the books of Moses, which were translated into Greek long before the Septuagint. What is Clement on Philo saying here? He's saying Philo is not the first person to try to make these connections. He's saying this has already been done. But these Greek philosophers drew from Moses. They drew from Moses, right? This is Clement on Philo, right? Let's go down a little bit further, right? Citation, Philo of Alexandria, circa 20 BCE, right? Let's continue. He doesn't understand Philo's breakdown of the logos, right? The utterance of God, right? And let me show you all the sources. This is the Internet Encyclopedia of Philosophy, IEP. The Internet Encyclopedia of Philosophy. And this is what the scholars, the modern day philosophers and the ancient philosophers are saying about Philo's actual stance and what he meant by the logos. He says, following the Jewish mystical tradition, Jewish, not Greek, Philo represents the logos as the utterance of God, found in the what? Jewish scripture of the Old Testament. Not any Greek polemics. Let's look at how he used the term. I keep telling y'all got to watch the sleight of hand here. The Old Testament says God's words do not differ from his actions. Right? And this is also in the citation of Philo. Right? And if y'all want to hear a good breakdown on Philo and how he meant and understood the logos, here's a great lecture. Philo of Alexandria, Judaism as Greek philosophy. Why are they saying it in this lecture? Because they're telling you that the Greek philosophers and the other ancient Greek philosophers, from Plato and among many others, from Thales and everyone, they took their information from the Jews. They got it from the Jews. Let's continue. Even going far back as Kabbalism. They got their information from the Jews. Let me go down. Again, Internet Encyclopedia of Philosophy. Clement on Philo. Clement of Alexandria even called Philo the Pythagorean. But it seems that Philo also picked up his ancestral tradition. What was Philo's ancestral tradition? He was a Jew. Though as an adult and once having discovered it, he put forward the teachings of the Jewish prophet, who? Moses. This is what he says. The summit of philosophy, that means the highest, the pinnacle, the mountaintop of philosophy, and considered Moses the teacher of Pythagoras, circa 570 BCE, and of all Greek philosophers and lawgivers. Hesiod, Heraclitus, Ligorius is mentioned, just to mention a few. For Philo, Greek philosophy was a natural development of the revelatory teachings of Moses. He's not teaching you Greek philosophy. He's telling you where Greek philosophy acculturated the Jewish wisdom culture, the Jewish text. He's not teaching you Greek philosophy with Hebrew words. He's teaching you Hebrew theological text and understanding in Greek text with the Greek text. Don't get it in reverse. He's telling you, this is Philo's own words, the summit of philosophy. And considered Moses the teacher of Pythagoras and all of the Greek philosophers. Those are the words of Philo. Right? Let's deal with it. The doctrine of the logos in Philo's writings. In the so-called Jewish wisdom literature, we find the concept, and I mentioned this in my opening, wisdom or Hakma or Sophia, which could be to some degree integrated as a separate personification or individualism, right? Or hypostasism, that is, if it is contrasted often with human stupidity. In the Hebrew culture, it was part of the metaphorical and poetic language describing divine wisdom as God's attribute. And it clearly refers to a human characteristic in the context of human earthly existence. the Greek metaphysical concept of the logos is in sharp contrast. Stark contrast. I told you, he has to show a methodology here. I'm showing you a methodology of compare and contrast. If you're saying it's heavily influenced, show us where the Greeks influenced the thoughts of Philo. He did not. He's still teaching the Greek. He's still teaching the Hebraic understanding through Greek words, but his thoughts have not changed. It doesn't matter how long you talk to me in any language. If my thoughts are not changing, my behaviors are not changing, where's your influence? Influence cannot simply be based on language. It cannot even be secured with language. It's a false argument here he's presenting all night. Philo taught that the concept, the metaphysical concept of the logos, is in sharp contrast to the concept of a personal God described in anthropomorphic terms typical of Hebraic thought. I knew he wasn't ready for this debate. The divine mind. Philo accepts the Platonic intelligible forms in part. Forms exist forever through the impressions they make, may perish with the substance on which they were made. Now watch this. This is what Philo says. He says, they are not, however, beings existing separately, only exist in the mind of God as his thoughts and powers. Philo, in stark contrast to Plato, explicitly identifies forms with God's powers. This debate is really over because the argument that Plato presented about forms is in complete contrast to what Philo is teaching. Philo is attributing everything, the material world, the creation to it, to the God of the Bible. And that the logos in Philo's definition is simply that which comes out of the divine mind of God. It is his thought. That's what Philo was teaching in the book of John when they were. That's what they drew on in the book of John when they brought in and talked about Philo's understanding of the logos. Hebrews would have known that. They're talking about what came out of the mind of God. Plato would never make that claim that the material world came from the mind of the God of the Hebrew Bible. That is completely against his idea and understanding of forms. You shouldn't have stepped to this plate. Let me keep going. Right? God's transcendent power, the logos which began eternally because it is a manifestation of God's thinking act. And the precept for that is Proverbs chapter 1, verse 7. In an agent that unites two powers of a transcendent God, Philo relates that in an inspiration, his own soul told him. That's a citation for Philo. It's a quote from Philo of Alexandria. Plato's forms would not agree with that. Neither Aristotle or Socrates or Thales or any other one of the Greek scholars. This is completely antithetical to their whole understanding. A lot of what you say is made up. The New Testament is not fundamentally Greek. A scholar no less than the William S. Smith, LLD, he says, and I quote, in regards to the Epicureans who Paul debated in the book of Acts, you clearly see Paul debating Greeks. The teaching of the Hebrew patriarchs and prophets was independent of any system of philosophy. And it is curious that Greek philosophy arose just after the Hebrew prophets closed their oracles in the book of Malachi, being contemporary with Socrates. So they're telling you the last book in the Hebrew Bible is the book of Malachi. You don't get anything else until the book of Matthew in the New Testament. But the Malachi is the end of the Hebrew Bible, right? This is why Malachi is referred to as the Hebrew Socrates. Although them both being contemporary, none of their thought process that was based on the Hebrew patriarchs and the prophets was nothing like that thought of the Greeks. It is a completely separate system of thought, right? The book of Malachi, again, I just talked about that. You can read that, Clifton Gray, the historical background of Malachi. Read it. It says the prophet Malachi is believed to have delivered his prophecies around 430 BCE, most likely in Jerusalem. Why is that important? Because you can see Malachi teaching the wisdom of the Proverbs. The wisdom of the Proverbs was considered the philosophy of the Jews. Right? And they base this on Malachi. He is sometimes called the Hebrew Socrates, since he introduces what is for the Bible a new style of address known as the dialectic method of writing. Same source, the historical background of Malachi. Let me get into it. Socrates was one of the, let me see, y'all can see, the New Testament is not fundamentally Greek. Socrates was one of the most important Greek philosophers, along with Plato and Aristotle. But his influence on the New Testament was not as direct as the latter fame might suggest. However, there are some ways that Socrates influenced the New Testament, and we're going to show you what ways we're talking about, right? Watch this. Watch this. The ways that he influenced it, because people showing up who were actually Greeks trying to debate Paul, the book of Acts, right? It says, Paul seems to mock the Greek philosophers on Mars Hill, challenging their beliefs and pointing out the flaws in their polytheistic worship by using the altar to the unknown God as a starting point for his gospel message, essentially highlighting the inadequacies of their existing understanding of divinity. Key points about Paul's speech on Mars Hill. Why is that important? Because they relegated it to Socrates, right? And the Socratic teachings, right? That's what was being debated on Mars Hill. That's the only influence that you will see. But it had no influence on the Hebraic thought of the New Testament. The location was the Areopagus, and known as Mars Hill in Athens. The audience was primarily Greek philosophers and intellectuals. The central theme, Paul used the altar of the unknown God to introduce the concept of a single true God, contrasting it with the multitude of Greek gods. Not the same thought. Critique of Greek culture. While Paul's message might have seemed critical to the Greeks, his intentions was to present a different perspective on God, not to ridicule their beliefs outright. Paul was trying to win them over to the Hebraic foundations and teachings of the scriptures. He wasn't trying to bring them in and make them proselytes of the Greek culture. This is why he quotes it, in order to teach them a Hebraic concept. Right? The Apostle Paul quoted from Greek poets and philosophers, including Epiphanides, Aristus of Cletus, and the Sermon of Areopagus. Paul's use of these quotes serves few purposes, highlighting inconsistencies. Paul drew attention to inconsistencies in Greek philosophy and religion by asking his audience to consider how God could be like an image of gold or silver if humans were made by God. No connection at all whatsoever.
All right. Moving on with Lexx Vortex, second round. Let's go, Lexx. Is that the same slide you're using right there, brother?
No, hold on. No, I'm gonna share something else. I'm gonna go back to this real quick. Hold on.
Okay. Hey, how y'all doing out there? How y'all doing? Hopefully y'all enjoying it. All this information. I can see Apostle now swinging from chandeliers right now. I see him. Shout out to Apostle.
Yeah,
Shout
okay.
out to all the brews out there.
Let's go back here. Okay, I'm ready.
Okay, which one you showing?
I'm showing. What you got? Yeah.
Okay, time will start when you're ready, brother.
All right. I'm ready. Go ahead. Man, I'm gonna just be honest with you. That was passionate, but it was a bunch of mumbo jumbo. The dude does not understand who Philo is. He's making an argument because Philo still has Jewish concepts. Yes, he was a Jew, but he was a Hellenized Jew who synchronized two things. That's what he's known for, bro. Like, bro, I'm gonna just be on. Everything he just said was pure garbage. It was a, basically a sermon. Let me read this to you again. He's arguing the Jewishness of Philo. He is known to be the mediator between two cultures. He's a Hellenist, bro, in Alexandria. So you're confusing the two thoughts that emerged together. That's the influence. So listen again. Philo of Alexandria, a Hellenized Jew. What is a Hellenized Jew? We'll have to look that up in a second. A Hellenized Jew, also called Judaeus Philo, is a figure that spans two cultures, the Greek and the Hebrew. Everything he just said is dead right there. This is what he's known for, bro. So you not ready to come to this debate. And secondly, I just like to say before I go on, I told y'all in the beginning that this dude would try to use Christians that try to claim that Plato learned from Moses. Let me tell you why that's stupid. Just stupid. Plato never said it, and Plato was in the 4th century BC. Moses never even existed. And we don't have a real text for Philo to even look at, for Plato to study until you get the Septuagint in 285 BC. The Greek church fathers tried, of course, as Christian apologists, to say Plato learned from Moses, a figure that never even existed, and we can't find no evidence of Moses further back than 4 BC, which is the time of Plato. But again, when Hebrew mythical thought met Greek philosophical thought in the 1st century BCE, it was only natural that someone would try to develop, listen, Yara, speculative and philosophical justification for Judaism in terms of Greek philosophy. What are you talking about? All of that was a sermon of mumbo jumbo. He said that he really believed that. He merged the two. That's what he was known for, my man. Thus, Philo produced a synthesis of both traditions, developing concept for future Hellenistic interpretation of Messianic Hebrew thought, especially by Clement of Alexandria, Christian apologists, and we can go on. But let me get back to my presentation. Bro, you wasted a whole round. Just not understanding that he's the how is that not an influence of Greeks? He was a Greek student. He's a Hellenist. That's why he's called a Hellenist. All right, let me take this down and you can remove that and bring my slideshow back up, son. Oh my God. All right. That's why this says this in the Bible, bro. You can't get this without Philo. This is Philo right here. In the beginning was now it's word, but I just put the Greek word in there so you can get the understanding. In the beginning was the Logos, and the Logos was with God, and the Logos was God. I just showed you the origin. Logos is purely Greek philosophy, bro. Philo. That's why it merged into Christianity. It's right here in your text. What do you mean I ain't showing you no influence? The same was in the beginning with God. All things were made by him, and without him was not anything made that was made. I just read to you. Hold on. I might have to go back and show you that. Because obviously we're working with slow gases right now. Let me get it real quick. Here it is right here. Let me bring this back up again real quick, sa.neter. We're working with slow gases. He said, I ain't showing no influence. I just read 1 John. In the beginning was the word, the Logos. Philo's model of creation. Though Philo's model of creation comes from Plato's Timaeus. The direct agent of creation is not God himself, described as Plato was the demiurge, maker, artificer, but the Logos, the word, bro. In the beginning was the word was God, the word was with God, all things are made by him, for him. That's where it comes from, bro, Philo. But the Logos, Philo believes that the Logos is the man of God, and the word became flesh, or the shadow of God that was used as an instrument in a pattern of all creation. The Logos converted unqualified, unshaped, pre-existent matter, which Philo describes as destitute of arrangement, of quality, of animation, of distinctive character, and full of disorder and confusion. For it is out of that essence that God created everything. Now let's go back to the word, bro. You wasn't sharing my screen, sa.neter? Oh, that's all good. In the beginning was the word, and the Logos was with God, and Logos was God. The same was in the beginning with God. All things were made by him, and without him was not anything made. Bro, you got to be slow not to understand that for y'all that are watching. He said, I'm not showing no influence on the New Testament of Christianity. This is Philo, bro. Let's go to the next joint. Dr. Marcos, let's just use a Christian PhD to let him tell you the truth. Dr. Marcos is an authority on C.S. Lewis apologetics in ancient Greece and Rome, and who widely for classical Christian and classical charter schools and conferences is the author of 26 books, including From Plato to Christ. How Platonic thought, I got a little misspelling there, hold on. How Platonic thought shaped the Christian faith, the myth made fact, reading Greek and Roman mythology through Christian eyes. Let a Christian tell you the truth. Let a Christian tell you the truth. I mean, hold on, let me unshare because I want to make sure my sound is being shared. Let me reshare this. Hey, will y'all be able to hear me? My sound, sa.neter? Put me back up.
I don't hear your sound at all. What you talking about? I paused your time. I paused your time. You had 7 minutes.
Hold on. I want to.
All right. Let me see. Go ahead. Let me hear it.
All right. Hold on. See. Hold on a second. I got to pull it up here because. I don't know how to share my sound on StreamYard here.
When you say share, you should say share sound with it. Sound should be right there.
Yeah, I know, but it's different when you upload a slideshow. Hold on. Take this off for a second. I'm going to take it off. Let me see if I can do it like this. Okay. Where's sound? To share audio, share a tab. It has to be on a tab to share audio. All right, hold on. I'll have to skip that, I guess. But I was gonna let y'all hear right from the horse's mouth what he had to say about this, but I'll have to skip that because you can't share your sound with the presentation. But basically, he's talking about how Christians need to accept the Greek influence of the Greek philosophers. You can put it back up, sa.neter. That's how I thought I thought we was gonna be on Zoom. So this is the book written by Luke.
You got 7 minutes.
All right. This is the book written by Dr. Louis Marcos, Plato to Christ, just in case anybody wants to pick up the book, How Platonic Thought Shaped the Christian Faith. Sources, Christian PhD. Is it all made up? Yara knows more than Louis Marcos. He doesn't know what he's talking about, man. He doesn't even know that Philo is the one who described the Logos, which is the ultimate description of Jesus, the word and emanation of God, through which he uses to create everything. Philo is way before that gets in your Bible, Yara. How does it get there if he describes it before it's there? And show me in the Torah that in the Bible. You can't do it. Let's get into this. He believed in a divine triad of God, the ideas, and the world spirit, though he nowhere explained to harmonize this triad. Charles Bigg, Christian Platonist of Alexander, page 249. That's the book right there on the side. See it? The Christian Platonist of Alexandria by Charles Bigg. Many of the church leaders who formulated the doctrine of the Trinity were steeped in Greek and Platonic philosophy, and this influenced their religious views and teaching. The language they use describing and defining the Trinity is, in fact, taken directly from the Platonic and Greek philosophy. The word Trinity itself is neither biblical nor Christian. Rather, the Platonic term trios, from the word for three, was Latinized into trinitas, the latter giving us the English word Trinity. You can't even have a Trinity without Greek, bro. The church fathers that were arguing for a Trinity, they had to have the framework of Greek to even introduce it. Show me the Trinity in the Old Testament. You can't do it. And if you try to argue, we don't believe in the Trinity. Well, that wasn't the church fathers' doctrine. They had councils about it. And they was influenced by what? Greek philosophers. They wouldn't even have the framework of the word to conceptualize this. The doctrine of logos, i.e. the word, a designation from Christ in John 1, and the Trinity received their shape from Greek fathers who were much influenced directly or indirectly by Platonic philosophy. That errors and corruptions crept into the church from this source cannot be denied. The New Herzog Encyclopedia of Religious Knowledge, Samuel Macaulay Jackson, Volume 9, page 91. The link between Plato's teachings and the Trinity as adopted by the Catholic Church centuries later is so strong that Edward Gibbon, in his masterwork, The History of the Decline and Fall of Rome Empire, referred to Plato as the atheist sage who had thus marvelously anticipated one of the most surprising discoveries of the Christian revelation, the Trinity. Volume 1, page 574. The History of Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire. These are scholars, Yara. They made it up. You're a Greek freak, bro. Now, I'll need y'all to pay attention to this because this is where we're gonna get a little bit. I'm trying to sum up something difficult because we got to deal with the Gospels. You have the Synoptic Gospels, right? And the four Gospels. Now, the scholars came to the conclusion that Mark is the gospel that all the other gospels come from. How did they do this? From a scholarly approach, they broke it down in 5 things: the sayings, the wisdom teachings, miracles, passion, post-resurrection, parables, and historical narratives. So what they did is compare them. This is how they know Mark was first. And they said, these are the elements that we see. So look, if you go to, Matthew's the first book. And this is a very summary because we ain't got time. But if we check these 5 points that the scholars point out, right? And trust me, you got to pay attention. This is going somewhere. We see Luke has miracles, the passion, and the passion, by the way, this is going to be very important for y'all because this is a kill shot. The passion, it means like the arrest and the crucifixion, that drama. The post-resurrection, meaning stories after he rose again. The parables, which are, you know what a parable is, and things that, evade to historical narratives. Now, when we go to Mark, he has miracles, he has the passion, but he has no post-resurrection information. He has parables, but he has no historical narratives. All right? And so this is how they know Mark was first, and it was used as the text for the rest of them. right? And this is just a brief summary. Matthew, the first gospel, has 90% of Mark. Matthew and Luke, where's the source of the other information? So they have 90% of Mark. Luke has 50% of Mark. And so the scholars came to the conclusion that what we're dealing with is Mark and what he has. So then they say, well, where did they get the other information that Mark doesn't have, such as the post-resurrection, and why Mark has no historical narratives? Pay attention. Pay attention. So Mark is what's being used as the reference for the rest of them. But what does it mean? So what the scholars came up with is what's called Q.
30 seconds.
See, man, that's why I said, bro, like, all right, Q is the designation for the gospel that no longer exists, but many think must have existed at one time. In fact, even though no copy of this gospel has survived independently, some 19th century scholars found fragments of such an early Christian composition embedded in the gospel of Matthew and Luke. This is the importance of it. In recent years, I'll have to get this in my next round. Now
check this
out.
out.
I told you to just let us go, man, because we got to get this.
We got to
take it off the screen, bro. Take it off.
Yeah, we gotta follow the program. But if y'all agree to go another round, it's up to y'all. It's up to y'all. I don't mind. Y'all got another round, but if y'all want to take
but
it, we can get it. Let
let the audience decide. I don't care.
I mean,
I can go another round after this one, but let the audience decide.
I mean, they paid their money. That's why I was like, I didn't care how long Lara went. Like, it doesn't. We dealing with a lot of information, bro. We gotta.
Okay, I tell you what. This is what I'm gonna do. Your last and final round will be 30 minutes, and that'll be the closeout round. That's your last and final round. Y'all cool with that?
The opening round, actually.
Yeah, I know, but at least y'all got it right now. So y'all gonna get it. I'm gonna give it to y'all.
What it does, though, it kind of leaves like when you. Anyway, we'll roll with it.
You cool with that, Elder Yara?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Okay, so let's go. You got your last and final round. You got 30 minutes in this round.
Absolutely. Let me get my screen up. First of all, this is why I
don't see your screen, brother.
Hold on. Let me share my screen. Here we go down here. First of all, this is why, man, listening is an art, family. Hold on. What happened? Hold on.
Hold up. Your screen is coming. It's coming. I just see a white blank piece of paper. Okay. Yeah, there you go.
I didn't see it at first.
Let me know when you're ready.
Hold on. It's coming. Can you see it?
Yes, it's up.
Okay. All right. Let me maybe if I do it like this.
And I'm gonna let you know, Lex, while he's up there doing his last and final round, you need to be getting your questions ready. And the same with Yara. When he's up here doing his last round, you need to get your questions ready, because all the time people be stumbling and don't know what to ask. So
yeah.
Are you ready, Yara?
Absolutely. So are you ready? Okay, yeah, I'm ready.
Time start.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Yes.
All right, cool. So the Greek philosophy heavily influenced the New Testament scriptures. He's going to run you around all into the 2nd century, 3rd century, 4th century. He brought out the Q source of Mark, which is nothing but a hypothesis and can't be proven, right? None of that stuff can be proven. But the Greek philosophy heavily influenced New Testament scripture. He talked about Philo, and let me show y'all why he killed himself. Let me show y'all, all right? This is why understanding these things are extremely, extremely important, right? I'm going to take you back to John 1:1. I'm going to show y'all that in a second. Right? Take out the John 1 and 1. I'm getting ready to pull it up in a second, so it's all good. All right. So y'all should be seeing this. And it's real simple. I already broke down to y'all that Philo was teaching nothing that Plato was teaching. There was a complete stark contrast. And let me prove it to you in the scripture, in the verse that he read, right? So here is John 1, right? In the beginning was the word. Now, this word right here is translated in the Greek. Pull it down so y'all can see it. A little bit here. No, let me go back. That didn't do it right. Let me go back. All right. So it says, in the beginning was the word. This word here is the word logos, right? In the Greek. And the word, again, logos in the Greek, was with God. And the word right here, logos, was God. The same was in the beginning with God. All things were made by him, and without him was not anything made that was made. If anyone studies Plato's theory of forms, Plato does not believe in a divine God. He doesn't believe in God. So how can Philo be claiming that he agrees with Plato? If you're saying this is only here because of Philo, in the beginning was the Logos, and the Logos was with God, and the Logos was God, that's in clear contrast. That is diametrically opposed to what Plato taught in the theory of forms. In Plato's theory of forms, there is no God. So how can Plato and Philo even be in agreement with this statement? They cannot. That's why listening is an art. Shout out to sa.neter and Captain Zaria. Listening is an art. He's not going to ever be able to show you any quotations, any citations, any source of Plato believed in a God, a divine God. Clearly here in John 1 and 1, it's talking about a divine being, a divine God. You're dead on that. Let's continue. Right? Did Greek philosophy heavily influence the New Testament scripture? Hebrew continued to be used as a spoken and written language even after the 4th century, including the New Testament. That's from the Oxford Dictionary of the Christian Church, 3rd edition, 1997. Right? He's acting as if because someone says they're a Hellenist Jew, that they were no longer speaking Hebrew. That just means they were under the lingua franca of the times. What is the lingua franca? The official language of the ruling empire of Rome was Greek. That's it. He has not been able to show Israelites in the text keeping Greek culture. He has not been able to show the Hebrew writers, whether Mark is your main source. Show us where Mark is saying that they kept Greek customs. The Israelites, the apostles, that they kept Greek customs. There's no influence there. Right? Let's continue. It says, Matthew put down the words of the Lord in the Hebrew language, and others have translated them each as best he could. That's the Bishop of Hierapolis, right? In 130 and 150 AD. Matthew indeed produced his gospel written among the Hebrews in their own dialect. That's Irenaeus, 120 to 202 AD, Bishop of Alliance of France. So we know that the New Testament scriptures were written in Hebrew first. It is the Septuagint that is that was translated into Greek. And guess what? If you go back to 42 minutes and 50 seconds in this debate, Lexx clearly says that the Greek translation came from the Hebrew Bible. Which one is it, Lexx? Then you said it again at the 44 mark and 57 seconds. 44 minutes and 57 mark. You said the original Hebrew Bible. The Septuagint was translated from. Then you went again at 50 minutes and 15 seconds against 50 minutes and 15 second marks, and you talked about Philo being you talked about Philo in direct contrast to Plato. You said it yourself. You daggered yourself 3 times. Let's continue. Boy, you're gonna regret this 30 minutes coming up. Was the Testament of Matthew originally written in Hebrew? There were debates raging concerning the destruction of the scrolls of the New Testament because they contain the divine name of the God in Hebrew. This discourse clearly presents documentation that the Gospels were written in Hebrew in early church history. And guess what? That came from the Babylonian Talmud. That's why they wanted it destroyed. Remember, you talked about the Babylonians? You talked about the Mishnah, the language didn't change, the behaviors, and then you talked about the Mishnahim in 200 BCE, Lexx. The Mishnahim in 200 BCE were Talmudists. Of course they hated the New Testament. They didn't write it. Why are you showing us Babylonian Talmudists? They have nothing to do with the New Testament. But they clearly tell you right here in the Babylonian Talmud, Shabbat 116a, in the Jerusalem Talmud, Shabbat 15c, and the Tosefta in Shabbat, the Shabbat 13 and 5. They all agree that the discourse clearly presents documentation that the Gospels were written in Hebrew. Why did they want to destroy the New Testament? Because it contained the divine name of God in Hebrew, not Greek. The first gospel composed in the Hebrew language was written by Matthew for those who came to faith from Judaism. This is Origin in 225 AD. Matthew had first preached to the Hebrews, and when he was about to go to others, he transmitted the gospel in writing in his native language. That's Ecclesiastical History, book 3, chapters 24. So we know that the New Testament writings were originally written in Hebrew. They just did not survive in Hebrew. They survived in the Septuagint. Matthew collected and wrote the oracles in the Hebrew. Ecclesiastical History 33, book 3, 30, section 39. Both the church fathers as well as recently discovered Dead Sea Scrolls state quite clearly and without any equivocation that Hebrew was the language spoken and written at the time of the Messiah and his disciples. That's Hebrew New Testament. PhD scholar Dr. D. Briggs, PhD, from Walden University. The original language of the Bible. I'm just going through this because, boy, that 30 minutes is going to be rough. Most of the Hebrew Bible was written in Hebrew, including all the Torah, the first 5 books of the Bible, but around 250 100 Bible verses out of a total of 23,000, primarily portions of the book of Daniel, 2, 4, 7, and 8, in the 5th century BCE, official court documents embedded in Ezra are in related language of the Aramaic. Still, where are they speaking the Greek? Where's the Greek influence? Even from the original Bible, we still see Aramaic being used in the Septuagint. Why are there Aramaic words there? They should all be Greek, right? Let's go here. Biblical contrast between Hebrew and Greek thought. Philosophy literally means a love of wisdom. In modern use, the term refers to any process of organizing thoughts and ideas within some established framework. Greek philosophy is actually a subset of the world's varied systems of discourse. Still, it would be fair to say that when Western culture thinks of philosophy, what's in the mind is what really Greek philosophy is to them. Terminology, techniques, and categories developed in ancient Greece became the standard by which later philosophical discourse was conducted, not during the time of the New Testament. As a result, virtually all questions of truth, ethics, worldview, and morality are still discussed using the basic principles of Greek philosophy. Why does that matter? That means that in later terms, only in Western philosophy do we see that the church fathers in the Greek philosophy being used to show and study the New Testament verses. And I'm going to show you that that was started by a gentleman named Benjamin Jowett. It is he who decided out of Oxford to show and prove that he's the one that said we should look at the New Testament through Greek philosophy. None of the early church fathers thought that. Philo didn't even teach that. Paul never taught that. Matter of fact, let's go to Jowett really quickly. Let's go to Jowett. See if I can pull him up real quick. Right? Let's see who he is. Right? This is why Lexx is confused. This is why Lexx is confused. He doesn't really understand the history. This gentleman right here, Benjamin Jowett, an English scholar, right, was a British classical scholar, considered one of the greatest teachers of the 19th century. He was renowned for his translations of Plato. A lot of the translations that you read today came from this guy right here. Why? Why is that important? Because most of what we understand from Plato has been lost. So anything that we read, most of the people that we read, including this Vortex, it came through this right here, Benjamin Jowett. Now how does this affect what he did later on? I'm going to show y'all something. It says he was renowned for his translation of Plato, and as an outstanding tutor, of great influence, who became a master at Balliol College in Oxford. Right? Let's continue, go down here and read about him. Jowett was educated at St. Paul's School, London, and Balliol. He was made fellow at Balliol in 1838 and was appointed a tutor in the college in 1842. In the year he was ordained as an Anglican deacon. In other words, Anglican deacon, that means he was ordained as a deacon in the Catholic Church. And this is what Lexx is confusing. That you see Platonism or references of Plato among the Catholic Church, which is what he's referring to as Christianity, not the New Testament, the first century writers. Get your timeline together, Lexx. It says he was an ordained priest for 3 years. Let's go into this right here. It says in 1855, Jowett finished the book, The Epistles of St. Paul. His essay on the atonement was attacked as unorthodox, but in spite of strong opposition, he was appointed Regius Professor of Greek with an annual salary. His contribution to essays and reviews caused opponents to accuse him of heresy before the Vice Chancellor Court, but proceedings were eventually dropped. Nevertheless, attempts to augment his salary was opposed. I don't need that. But he's the reason why people today, including Lexx Vortex, look at the scriptures through the lens of Greek philosophy. The church fathers never did it. He wants to tell you that the church fathers was just church apologists who didn't like Plato. No, they said Plato had nothing to do with it. Nothing to do with it. The reason why you see this, Lexx, is that you're focusing on Western philosophy and the eyes, and you're reading the New Testament through the understanding of the eyes of Ben Jowett, on his understanding of how Greek philosophy should be done. During this period, he published his translations on the dialogues of Plato and Theodosius' history. As vice chancellor of the university, he encouraged drama and music, completing his translation of Aristotle Politics. His edition of the Republic, right, on which he had worked for 30 years, was published posthumously after he died, right? So you got to understand, it is this guy right here is the reason why we read in the Western philosophy teachings of the New Testament. This is why they read it that way, because of this gentleman right here. Lexx not really ready for that information because he just doesn't know. But it's okay. Let's continue. Right? Let's keep going. Let me go right here. Right? A love of wisdom. This distinction is especially crucial when discussing the impact of Greek philosophy on Christianity. On one hand, the worldview, morals, and central claims of Judeo-centric beliefs far predate Greek philosophers. Many central beliefs of Judeo-centric beliefs are in direct opposition to those of men like Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle. If you read the text, none of the tenets in the Bible line up with Greek philosophy. Not even Philo's in John, when he alludes to Philo's teaching on the Logos. Philo's teaching in the Logos only talks about and deals with the thought that comes from the creator of the mind of God. That's diametrically opposed to Plato, Socrates, and Aristotle. But Paul, who often debated Greek philosophies in Acts chapter 17, verse 18, indicated that the gospel of Christ was foolishness to the Hellenistic Greek worldview. In 1 Corinthians chapter 1, verse 23, in that sense, it would be fair to say that Greek philosophy has not influenced Christianity, right? And I'm going to read y'all that verse real quick. We read y'all that verse. 1 Corinthians 1 and 23. I'm going to pull it up real quick, so he can understand that Paul clearly taught against Platonism. The most prominent writer, the most prolific writer in the New Testament, right? Matter of fact, I think I already might have this up already. But look. No, I got to go back. Because that kills me. Got to go back. Let me look at 1 Corinthians. First Corinthians 1 and 23. I'm sorry, 1 and 23. 1 Corinthians 1 and 23. Let's yeah, 1 Corinthians 1 and 23. I want to read y'all something. 1 Corinthians 1 and 23. There we go. It's not coming up. Can you stop my time, sir?
Stop. You got 10 minutes and 46 seconds.
Okay. 1 Corinthians 1. Yeah. Yeah, let me okay, I'm ready. So you can start my time back. Right? So here,
time resumed.
You hear in First Corinthians 1 and 18, Paul is going to clearly destroy any semblance of Greek philosophy. Show me the Greek influence here from Paul. He says, for the preaching of the cross is to them that perish foolishness, but unto us which are saved, it is the power of God. For it is written, I will destroy the wisdom of the wise. What is the wisdom of the wise? Philosophers, the Greek philosophers of the day, and will bring to nothing the understanding of the prudent. Who is the prudent? The wise man. Where is the wise? Where is the scribe? Where is the disputer of this world? Who's the disputer of this world? He's talking about the Greek philosophers, those who claims that God was not the creator of this world, as Plato often taught. Hath not God made foolishness the wisdom of the world? For after that, in the wisdom of God, the world by wisdom knew not God. It pleased God by the foolishness of preaching to save them that believe. For the Jews require a sign, and the Greeks seek after wisdom. Diametrically opposed. Two different cultures. Where's the Greek influence? Paul is the most prolific writer in the text. And throughout Christianity, for that matter. But we preach Christ crucified unto the Jews, a stumbling block, and unto the Greeks, foolishness. The Greeks thought it was all foolishness that what Paul was teaching. In which are called both Jews and Greeks, Christ the power of God and the wisdom of God. Because the foolishness of God is wiser than men. And
your mic going in and out, your mic is going in and out, Yara. Your time is, I'm stopping your time. You're at 8:17. Yes, I hear you.
Okay. All right. How much?
You got 8.
I'm gonna start right here. It says, "For the Jews require a sign, and the Greeks." Okay. For the Jews require a sign, and the Greeks seek after wisdom. This is the handwriting of Paul. All scholars agree that at least 7 essential letters of Paul were authentic out of the 13 that he wrote. This is one of them. 1 Corinthians. It says, "But we preach Christ crucified unto the Jews a stumbling block, and unto the Greeks is foolishness. For the Jews require a sign, and the Greeks seek after wisdom." Right? You can't show me influence in the culture. You're not going to show it. You can't tell us somebody was influenced by something and they never changed how they viewed the world. Right? Many still succumb to outdated charges that first century Israelites in the New Testament were heavily influenced by pagan philosophical systems. Right? Let's look at this. Let me go down here. Let me show you something right here. Right? Hebrew thought. The Great Commandment is a term used to describe the first of 2 commandments cited by Yeshua Yahushua in Matthew 22, 35 through 40, and Mark 12 through 28, Matthew 22 and 40. All the law and the prophets hang on these 2 commandments, not the teachings of the Greeks. He says the law and the prophets. He wasn't speaking about Greek philosophers. Christ said, everything that I'm teaching you can be summed up in these 2 commandments, and you can hang them on everything that the law of Moses and the prophets taught, not Greek philosophers, in which Paul and John affirm as the only influence of their faith and culture and heritage. Matthew 7 and 12, in everything, then do to others as you would have them do unto you. This is the essence of the law and the prophets. John 1, for the law was given by Moses, but grace and truth came by Yahushua. Romans 3 and 19. Now we know that what things soever the law says, it says to them who are under the law, that every mouth may be stopped and all the world may become guilty before God. Galatians 5:14. It says the entire law is fulfilled in a single decree. Love your neighbor as yourself. Where's the Greek influence? Right? You can't show it. Let's look here. 2 Timothy 3:15. from infancy, you have known the Holy Scripture, which are able to make you wise for salvation through faith in Jesus Christ. That's the formula for wisdom that Paul teaches, not of the Greek philosophers, not to know yourself and to thy own self be true, not to your logic and reason. Aristotle, Socrates, and Plato rely heavily on their own wisdom. All scripture is God-breathed and is useful for instruction, for conviction, and for correction, and for training in righteousness, so that the man of God may be complete, fully equipped for every good work. That's not Greek philosophy. Let's continue. Let's look at the contrast from what we just read. Let's look at what Greek thought says. Greek thought refers to the writings of Plato and Aristotle, as well as the intellectual heirs and Gnostic heretics. From Greek thought, we have the whole dualistic heresies that they try to put everything into black and white, or either thinking rather than recognizing the fuller balance. Right? In Hebrew thought, let's deal with this. Greek thinking pits the physical against the spiritual. The Hebrew text, the New Testament, is a spiritual text. Greek thinking is diametrically opposed to it, leading either to asceticism, where the tainted and dirty physical is punished, while the enlightened spiritual is developed, or to hedonism, while the corruption of one's physical body through promiscuity or gluttony is unimportant, because it is only the mind and spirit and not the body that matter anyway. Hebrew thought, Christ taught, Paul taught, all fornicators, all adulterers will have their part in the lake, or have their part in the place of destruction. That's not what Greek thought taught. Jesus and Paul, they taught about the resurrection. Greeks did not believe in a resurrection. They considered not the body. In Hebrew thought, the body, the heart, the mind, and the spirit are all an interconnected whole, none of which can be neglected. None at all. Right? Matthew 20 and 25, but Jesus called to himself and said, you know that the Hellenistic rulers of the Gentiles lord it over them, and those are great exercise authorities over them. Yet it shall not be so among you. But whosoever desires to become great among you, let him be your servant. And whoever desires to be first among you, let him be your slave, just as the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many. We see here the egalitarian mindset of Hebrew thought favorably compared to the authoritarian bent of the Greek thought that predominates the cultures of the heathen. Jesus in Matthew 20 clearly talks about those Hellenists. He keeps talking about Hellenistic. Those were those who spoke the Greek, and some went after the Greek, and some went after customs, or some went after all. But he tries to emphasize Philo being a Hellenistic. They all spoke the lingua franca. But you see clearly they had distinct beliefs. 1 Corinthians 1, 22 and 5. For Jews request a sign. I just read this earlier. Here we see that, humanly speaking, Jews want a sign, some sort of mystical, miraculous proof showing Messiah is king, delivering the Jews from foreign bondage without seeking deliverance from the sin which enslaved them, while Greeks seek after wisdom, a logical proof that engages them intellectually without seeking to challenge their entire way of living and behaving. But God provides something that serves as a barrier to the corrupted, sin-led listeners of any cultural background. That's 1 Corinthians 1, 22 to 25.
1 minute.
Okay. Let's see here. Let's deal with this. Contrasting Hebrew thought versus Greek thought of the Greeks and circumcision. In classical and Hellenistic civilization, ancient Greeks and Romans posed great value on the beauty of nature, physical integrity, aesthetics, harmonious bodies, and nudity, including the foreskin, and were opposed to all forms of genital mutilation, including circumcision. Show me one Israelite in the text that was not circumcised. Show me that Paul didn't practice circumcision. We clearly should see in the text that Paul practiced circumcision. In opposition, inherited by the canon and secular legal systems of the Christian West and East that lasted at least through to the Middle Ages, according to Hodges. The source is Hodges, Frederick M. 2001, The Ideal Purpose in Ancient Greece and Rome, Male Genital Aesthetics and the Relations of Lipidominus, Circumcision, Foreskin, and Restoration. No influence.
All right, man. Powerful, powerful. Lexx Vortex, your last and final round will start when you're ready. You got 30 minutes in this round.
All right.
I want to say to my brother Elder Yara, you should be getting your questions ready as he do his third and final round, so y'all can be prepared. All right, let's get it in.
All right. Man, this reminds me, I got to quote Khalid Muhammad when he debated the pastor.
You ready?
Yes, sir.
This is your slides you want, right?
Hold on.
This the one you got up.
Yeah, we good right now.
All right, time starts.
A brain is a terrible thing to waste. It's like, yo, this is flying right over this guy's head. He keeps talking about the contrast between Hebrew and Greek. When the scholars keep telling you that at this time period, you have a fusion of Hebrew and Greek. Not a complete. No one ever said that Jews completely threw away Judaism. Like, your sermon is pointless, bruh. But I'm going to show you. We're going to bring it home, y'all. Trust me. We're about to bring it home. But let me finish off with what I was saying. But I need to make this point. He said, show me a Jew that wasn't circumcised. Paul taught against circumcision. That he actually proves my point when I say you got to know the history. I'm glad you brought that out. Paul said you have no need to be circumcised. Let me pull that up, yo. Yo, this dude's a fool, bro. Let me just for its and giggles. Let me pull up that scripture to show you. This is why the Bible's so contradictory, because of the fusion of these two cultures. A brain is a terrible thing to waste, bro. Let me see here. And then we're going to get on with it. Here we go. Actually, let me share this real quick, sir. Bro, I'm about to cook you so bad this last round, you're going to wish you didn't show up here. Take this off the screen real quick.
You need me to stop?
No, he good. Dude said, show me a Jew that has not been circumcised. I'm going to show you the Greek influence right in your scripture. Christ become of no effect unto you. Whosoever of you are justified by the law. Name me a Jew. This is Greek. Name me a Jew that say you wouldn't be justified by the law. This is a new way of thinking, bro. Christ has become of no effect to you. Whoever, hold on, let me blow it up. Yeah. All right. Pull it up. Christ, Galatians 5 and 6. Christ has become of no effect unto you. Whosoever of you are justified by the law, yea, are fallen from grace. A Jew would never say that. For we through the Spirit wait for the hope of righteousness by faith. For in Jesus Christ, neither circumcision availeth anything, nor uncircumcision, but faith which worketh by love. This is Greek philosophical thought, bro. If you were to go, this is why they wanted to get it, Paul. This is why Old Testament Hebrew Israelites do not accept the New Testament, because they know this, bro. Circumcision is part of the law. You had to be circumcised. Where's Paul coming from? But I'm going to show you why Paul is saying this stuff, because he's a Platonist. See, we had this time thing. You lucky I couldn't run this all the way and lead up to what I'm getting to. You did run well. Who did hinder you that you should not obey the truth? This persuasion cometh not of him that calleth you. Dude says, show me a Greek that wasn't circumcised. And then he lied. Let me show you this. He said that the, what's the name, were Talmudists. Remember I showed y'all this? Dude don't know history. The Mitzyanim. He said they're Talmudists. Why are you bringing up Talmudists? About the year 200 BCE, there arose among the Jewish population a group called the Mitzyanim, meaning Hellenist, bro. Like, so where did he get that? If this is what the dude is getting old or something. Where did he get the information when I read that he said these are Talmud? They're Hellenists though, bro, who adopted Greek culture as a way of life to such a degree that almost invariably they gave up their Jewish culture and identity. What are you talking about? It's going to get worse from here, bro, because all you said was nonsense. Bring my thing back up, so the presentation. So like I was showing y'all before with the Gospels, that this is what the scholars went through. And so they came up. Now, this is scholarly. This is what scholars do. This is how they break things down. So Mark is the source, but then they say, well, they look at all those things and they say, well, there's another sources that we don't that's out there. And Q is the designation for a gospel that no longer exists, but many think must have existed at one time. In fact, even though no copy of this gospel has survived independently, some 19th century scholars found fragments of such an early Christian composition embedded in the gospels of Matthew and Luke. In recent years, several scholars have suggested that the author of Mark's gospel utilized the genre of tragedy in the composition of the book. This is what I want to get y'all to, bro.
All right, we have breaking news. But this Thursday, 7:00 p.m. For those of y'all, Hebrews, Christians, if you're not on the flyer by Thursday, you won't be able to come in to challenge Jabari or no questions. You must be on the flyer. Jabari will be taking question and answers from Hebrew Israelites and Christians. He will be on the hot seat. This is your opportunity to bring that flavor, bring the power, bring whatever you got. Just don't bring no hate. Bring the information. And so if you're not on the flyer, you don't make it. We got Bakwash, we have Apostle, we got Easy Bands, we got Black Sage, and we got Kassad. Now, Brother Gideon was supposed to send me a picture. I ain't get it yet. And then Omar Muhammad was supposed to send one. I didn't get it yet. So if you're not on the flyer by Thursday, you won't be on the panel. All right? Just want to let y'all know this is going to be powerful. Jabari going to be able to go in on Hebrews and Christians, and y'all going to be able to go in and ask questions. All questions must be answered. Jabari, all questions must be answered, and then vice versa for you brothers.
Did y'all know that the Gospels were Greek screenplays that had all the element of Greek plays? They were screenplays, bro. Listen to this. I'm going to show you what scholarship is, son. In recent years, several scholars have suggested that the author of Mark's gospel utilized the genre of tragedy in the composition of his book. Gilbert Belitskian and Benoit Stannard, in particular, both explored the influence of Greek tragedy on Mark's gospel. And in this contribution to the subject, Jeff J. agrees with them that the book is a work composed by an artful writer over whom tragedy exerts considerable influence. Page 18. I want y'all to know something. The Q that they say has been classified as basically as wisdom literature and prophetic literature, right? It has been classified wisdom literature for the Hellenistic period. The wisdom literature is considered early. The prophetic literature is considered later. This is the common thing, what they mean, the source from where the Gospels come from. Now, what's the importance of this, Lex? What are you talking about? History, y'all, pay attention. Tracing Jesus' teachings through the historical location of his travels, what was going on in these cities at the time of Jesus? The area Jesus come from, such as Galilee and Judea, were Hellenistic cities until 100 BC, before it became heavily populated with Jewish people. This area is called Decapolis. Why is this important? I'm going to tell you why in a second. Hold on. Let me get it for you. Let me take this off the screen. These are Hellenistic cities, y'all, where the Stoics and the Cynics and the wisdom teaching of the Greeks was centralized. It wasn't Jewish. He doesn't know history. He's just proselytizing. Decapolis, the league of 10 ancient Greek cities in eastern Palestine that was formed after the Roman conquest of Palestine in 63 BCE, when Pompey the Great recognized the Middle East to Rome's advantage and to his own. The name Decapolis also denotes the roughly contiguous territory formed by these cities, all but one of which lay east of the Jordan River. According to Pliny the Elder, in the mid-1st century, the 10 cities of the league were Scopolis, Mardin, Bethshan in Israel, Hippos, Gadara, Raphana, Dion, Pela, Gerasa, Philadelphia, Mardin, Armin, Jordan, Kenatha, Damascus. Remember, Paul got knocked off the horse on the road to Damascus. Is there an underlining thing telling you where he's getting his stuff from? The capital of modern Syria. The exact number varied over time, and at one stage, 14 cities are reported to have been members. Damascus lay the farthest north, while Philadelphia lay the farthest south. Gadara was the original capital of the league, but it was replaced by Damascus. The cities participated in Decapolis as a means of mutual protection and security against their Semitic neighbors. So this is before the influx. There was beef here. This is what I'm trying to show. He doesn't understand history, the merging of cultures. The league was subject to the Roman governor of Syria, though his authority was somewhat tenuous in eastern Palestine. The cities of Decapolis created a rich Hellenistic culture. The cities of Decapolis created a rich Hellenistic culture that produced the philosopher, satirist, Menippus, among other figures. The league survived into the 2nd century CE. Let me stop sharing that for a second. When you go into further research, this was the home of the Stoics and the Cynics and what they call sages. And what were the sages known for at this period of time? Wisdom teachings. So the scholars, that's why I showed y'all the development from the Q source. So the scholars said, well, where did these wisdom teachings come from? What was the source of the Gospels? The Q, Hellenistic wisdom was the source. Let me bring my thing back up, sa.neter. He doesn't know history. This is where Jesus was. Galilee. See it on this map over here on the side? This is a Hellenistic province, bro. What are you talking about? They're spoken Aramaic, but no, they're Greek speaking. 40% of them were Hellenists speaking Greek, not Hebrew. And by the way, Stop with the nonsense. Show me that Hebrew gospel. Show me the Hebrew gospel of Mark. Show me the Hebrew gospel of John. Show it. You won't be able to show. All you're going to show me is Christian apologists theorizing because they want to get away from their Greek origins. But it's about to get worse, bro. It's about to get worse. That's what I just read to y'all. All right, take that off the screen, sa.neter. He said, how could he be Plato be talking to because Plato didn't believe in a God? Bro, you don't understand Plato, fool. Let me show him. Hold on, y'all. Let me show him. Oh, yeah, hold on. Let me deal with this first. He said none of the church fathers acknowledge Greek or whatever. They fought it. Oh, really? Explain this, sir. Explain this. Hold on a second. None of the church fathers let's give you direct quotes from the church. Is St. Augustine a church father? Let me blow this up for the people. Bro, you're not in the same league as me, bro. And you know it. All you can do is preach. I didn't nobody even understood that mumbo jumbo you was talking. St. Augustine, the utterance of Plato, the most pure and bright in all philosophy, scattering the clouds of error. That's St. Augustine. That's a church father, sir. He also said this. These are quotes. I found that whatever truth I had read in the Platonists was in the writings of Paul, combined with the exaltation of thy grace. Should I go on? You're in a body bag, bro. You lied to the people. None of the church fathers, none of the church fathers were talking about Greek philosophy. They were fighting against Greek philosophy. You sound like a nerd that don't know what he's talking about, bro. Eusebius of Caesarea. Plato is the only Greek who has attained the porch of Christian truth. Now, how can Eusebius of Caesarea say this when Plato was in 4 BC, Christianity is in the goddamn 2nd century AD? And y'all got to understand one other thing. Christianity is a developing religion. It didn't stop developing till the 1700s. He doesn't know history. Clement of Alexandria. Oh, my God. None of the church fathers. He doesn't understand. Before the advent of the Lord, philosophy was necessary to the Greeks for righteousness. And now it becomes conductive to piety, being in a kind of preparatory training to those who attain to faith. For God is the cause of all good things, but of some primarily, as of the Old and New Testaments, and of others by consequence, as philosophy. Paul spoke against the Greek philosophers. Perchance, too, philosophy was given to the Greeks directly and primarily, for philosophy was a schoolmaster to bring the Hellenic mind to Christ. Hold up, didn't Paul say the law was a schoolmaster? How is Greek philosophy? They're totally in opposition to Greek philosophy, but yet Greek philosophy is what led them to Christ. You know what that means? It's the foundation, the structure of thought, bro. Philosophy, therefore, was a preparation paving the way for him who is perfected in Christ. You're dead, Yara. You're dead. You are dead, sir. You are. I thought the church fathers didn't have nothing to say about Greek philosophers. I thought they were so opposed to Greek philosophy. You're dead. He said Plato didn't believe in a God. Hold up. When I show y'all this is, you know what? I was going to say this for last. but I'm going to show it now. Do y'all know where the book of Revelation comes from? This right here is going to blow your mind. And this is going to end the goddamn debate. This is going to end the debate. And guess what? I'm going to use Christians to do it. Share my screen, sir. No, I'm not going to use Christians. But let me see. You're dead, sir. When I show him this, you are completely dead. Where is it at? The book of Revelations, y'all. Let me blow this up. This is going to blow your mind. This is from answerinchristianity.com. You can go to many sources to find out about this information. And when I read you this, the debate is over, y'all. Clearly, I'm telling you, the debate is over. This dude shouldn't even, don't ever bring nobody like this on stage with the Vortex again, baby. It is originally a pagan prophetic book created by Sibyls. These are created by prophetic women. Do you know who the Sibyls are? Watch this. Some sort of mysticist that offered it to the Romans. Is the Bible's book of Revelation a plagiarism of the Sibylline oracles written in 510 BC? The Sibylline Revelation notes the immortal priestess Hierophile, considered to be the greatest seer of pagan antiquity, lived in a cave in Cumae in Cappadocia, Italy, and delivered oracular prophecies while in a state of trance. She was known as Cumaean Sibyl. Around 510 BCE, she authored 9 volumes of prophecy called The Mysteries of Isis and Osiris. There you go, sa.neter. Egypt is back in the house, boy. That's where you get your book of Revelation from. Check it out. The Mysteries of Isis and Osiris to the 7th Roman king Tarquin the Proud. At sa.neter, what's my time? Sa?
You got 11 minutes left.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Hold on. Where I lost my page. 1 second. Man, where is it at?
This the page you was on, right?
Yeah. I mean, I got to get back there myself, though. Hold on. Man, where's it at?
All right, I paused your time.
All right, I'm here. Go ahead.
All right.
The mystery of Isis, to the 7th Roman king Tarquin the Proud at the very high price of 300 gold pieces. When the king declined to buy them, the prophetess departed and burned 3 volumes in a palace courtyard. She offered the remaining 6 books at the original price, and once again the king declined to buy. 3 days later, the Sibyl returned.
Time. Which one are you showing? Because you got 2 screens up. Are you showing this one? Or
no. Hold on, my fault.
Are you showing this one?
This one.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. Burned 3 more volumes, then offered the 3 that remained to the king at the original asking price for all 9. There was much local gossip at these strange events, and Tarquin's curiosity aroused. He purchased the 3 volumes. The Sibyl then departed and was not seen again. She was subsequently known to history as the Sibyl of Tarquin, and her 3 volumes became highly prized in the Roman Empire. They were kept in a specially carved marble chest commissioned by Tarquin, lined with the purple of kings. Priests were appointed to interpret the writings, and scribes were assigned to produce exact copies. The original collection was jealously guarded in the temple of Jupiter, Capitolinus, and frequently consulted by priests. In times of peril and disaster, the original copies were entrusted to curators, assisted by 2 Greek interpreters in reading the oracles aloud to the Senate. Tacitus recorded the statues of Sibyl were idolized and that invocation was made. The lustral water was brought to wash her cellar and her statue in the Capitol. Sometimes the statues were ceremoniously taken to the sea and washed there. The Sibyl's writings, regarded as the mouthpiece of the gods, were recognized as the most efficacious instruments in Roman religion and were customarily observed and respected by all Romans. The originals perished in the fire that destroyed the temple of Capitolinus in 83 BCE. This is BC times, y'all. Pay attention, because the debate is over. And were immediately replaced with copies from other temples. A special priestly college called the Quindecimviri Sacris Foncius was set up by Julius Caesar to take charge of the sibylline books, and its 16 members exercised great influence on decisions of the state. Augustus, the first Roman emperor, directed the preparation of, you know what? I gave y'all a little history. Let's just get to it. Let's get to it. Let's read them. Let's read them and tell me if this is not influence. The mysteries of sisters. By the way, women, they didn't give you your props for writing the book of Revelation. And by the way, those sibyls, a lot of them were black women, the oracles in Alexandria and Egypt, buddy. Behold, the spirit of the air shall bring her, and every eye shall see her. You know this is her? You know this is her, sir? The community, all the vast community of the living shall raise their voices as one and sing because of her. Even so, amen. Do I got to pull up? Do y'all remember that? So says the amen in the book of... Now, what is this? I am the Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end, which was and is and shall be. A voice spoke, and I turned to see who it was that spoke to me. Turning, I saw 7 golden candles. Man, let me get out of here. Let me get out of here, bro. Do you want me to go on, or you want me to keep slapping you because I got more? You're dead. Where are the 7 golden candles? And in the midst of their blazing light, one who seemed to be the mother of all, sir. You patriarchal, Hellenistic, Jewish, Greek philosophizing, patriarchal, misogynist bastards took the mother out of it, chump. One who seemed to be the mother of all, clothed in white, white as snow. Her voice filled the air with the sound of rushing water, and her hands were 7 stars. Oh my God, full of the flaming light of the heavens from which they came. She spoke, brother. She spoke. I don't mean to feed y'all feminism, but we got one for the ladies here, sir. Her face streaming light, blazing and golden like 1,000 suns. She said, have no fear. I am the first and the last. I am the beginning and the end. A woman said it first, sir. Why'd y'all come? This is BC. Write the things which you have seen, the things which are yet to be. Oh, you thought you had me, didn't you, Yara? Nigga, I'm the double master teacher of this day and time, sir. The mystery of the 7 stars refill my hands in the 7. Do I have to go on? No. You're dead, sir. Unless you can explain how the book of Revelation is copying this from BC times, from Greek oracles in Alexandria, women. I want to see what I can't wait to the question and answer. You better start Googling, buddy. You better start Googling some Christian apologetics. Take this down, Saw. Let's get to how much time, Saw?
You got 5 minutes and 10 seconds.
Boy, you're lucky. I might need another 5 minutes. I need another 5 minutes, Saw.
Nah, that's it, y'all.
Nah, okay, it's cool.
Better come on, your time running.
Hold on. I don't want him to be able to stand up and breathe after this, bro. That's why I told you, forget time. Let's get busy. Boy, you my student, son. All right. So, all right, share my screen. Is this it? Okay. Now, this was the easy part. I didn't even have to get here. You know, I didn't even want to do this. Just he talking about Paul was so against the Greeks. He hated, bro. 1 Corinthians 15:33, evil communications corrupt good manners. Quoted from Thales, a work done by Menander, a writer from the 3rd century BC, who in turn is supposed to have quoted from another scholar named Euripides. Titus 1:12, the Cretians are always liars, evil beasts, slow bellies. So they're trying to say that he used all these quotes. He's not using them. He's not citing his sources, bro. In writing this to Titus, Paul quotes a description of the Cretans taken from Epimenides. Paul calls Epimenides one of themselves a prophet of their own. Acts 17:18, Paul is encountered by Epicureans and Stoics. Paul's first sentence struck directly at the Epicurean theory, the origin of the world by mere coincidence in atoms, and arrayed himself with the Stoics in their doctrine of divine wisdom and providence, creating and ruling all things. His speech is made up of words quoted from a Roman Stoic philosopher called Lucius Annius Seneca, as mentioned below. See, here's the thing y'all got to realize. He's going to come with Christian apologetics saying, oh, he's just using this to reference. But this is what I'm talking about. Bro, can anybody in here quote the Nutcracker for me? No, you don't. You're not familiar. This dude is Greek educated. You can't even name American plays, bro. The dude. Acts 17:24. Paul went on to say, God dwelleth not in temples made with hands. That comes from a Stoic named Seneca, which I told y'all the Stoics, that area, Galilee, was where the Stoics were. The most prominent contemporary representative of Stoicism, Seneca, had put their doctrine into these words. The whole world is a temple of the immortal gods, and temples are not to be built to gods of stones piled on high. He must be consecrated in the heart of every man. Why is he quoting this, bro? What's his point? Because what he's saying, people have already said in Greek philosophy, bro. Paul said, neither is God served by men's hands, as though, Acts 17:25, as though he needed anything, seeing he himself giveth to all life and breath and all things. Seneca put the same truth in this form. God wants not ministers, how so? He himself ministered to the human race. Paul said, God made one of every nation of men that dwell on the face of the earth. Seneca agrees. We are members of the vast body. Nature's made us kin when she produced us from the same things as to the same ends. Paul said, God is not far from each and one of us, for in him we live and move and have our being. Seneca wrote, God is at the hand everywhere and to all men. And again, God is near thee. He is with thee and he is within. Paul says, for we are also his offspring. In Paul's speech at Athens, he quotes from certain of your poets. The poet he is talking about is Aratus, and this is a line found in the phenomena of Aratus. The nigga's quoting more Greeks than the Old Testament. I didn't have time because what I want to do is see how many times he quoted the Greeks as compared to what he quoted the Old Testament. I bet you he probably quoted more Greeks than the Old Testament. Paul says, against such there is no law. Romans 2:14. Paul says, are a law unto themselves. Paul's words are eerily familiar to Aristotle's saying of men eminent for wisdom and virtue. Against such there is no law, for they themselves are the law. What's his point? What is he trying to prove here, Yara? You're a bum, bruh. Your apologetics will get you nowhere. Paul says, no, ye not that way. Man, do I need to go on? But I want to get to something else real quick because I know my time is waiting. I could do that all day. There's about 20 more from Yara. But he hates Greek philosophers. He hates them. Listen to this, sir. You said Plato did not believe in a creator, so what are you talking about? You don't know Plato. You're an idiot. Plato's Timaeus. In the Timaeus, Plato presents. Is my screen up? Share the screen, sa.neter. In Timaeus, Plato presents an elaborately wrought account of the formation of the universe. This is Stanford.edu, by the way, if you was wondering. In the Timaeus, Plato presents an elaborately wrought account information of the universe and an explanation of its impressive order and beauty. The universe, he proposes, is a product of a rational, purposive, and beneficent being. It is the handiwork of a divine craftsman. That is the concept that Plato has. Yes, there's an almighty good, Yara, that everything emanates from, sir. Your funeral was today.
All right. Family, we got through this, man. We finally got through it. Powerful round between both of these dudes. We are up to the question and answer period. And so y'all will be asking each other questions. Elder Yara, you first. Once you ask a question, you have a minute to answer the question without uninterrupted. You have a minute to answer the question. Are you ready, Lexx Vortex?
Yes, sir.
All right, Elder Yara. That's time. The time will start. Time will start when you finish your first question.
Right. Lexx Vortex, who do scholars say wrote the book of Revelation?
I just showed you that. First of all, there's no any of the books in the New Testament, they don't have any authors that are solid. Scholars will say no, that John didn't write the book of John. The Mark, those are all names. There's no authors, sir.
I said, who do scholars say wrote?
I just told you that's what scholars say. You want me to pull it up for you? Hold on. Go ahead. Ask your next question out, and I'll pull it up and show you that the New Testament books.
When is the book of John, book of Revelation dated?
I don't quite remember. I think between 70 and 90 AD, maybe.
70 AD is the time of the siege of Jerusalem by Tacitus, so it wouldn't have been 70 AD.
Okay, when is it? 90, something like that.
I don't know. 90, right?
Right.
And where would this book have been written in 90 CE? Where would it have been written?
Where?
I'm asking you.
It wasn't written in 90 CE. I just showed you it was written in BC.
So if it was written in BC, you said it was written in BC, right?
Yeah, didn't I just read the Sibyls to you, bro?
What you read to me, hold on. What you read was the Sibyls, but there's no source that says that the book of Revelation came from the Sibyls. What you read was some commentary. What you read was commentary. They have no evidence of it. No transmission.
The evidence,
so, unless you want me to pull your source back up and make
the word. Hold on,
let me leave it at there.
Let me answer.
According
to
the New Testament, right? So that's dead. So
no, hold on. Let me answer, bro.
No, time out. Both of y'all. Lexx, it's your turn to ask Yara a question.
Yara, why is it that when I read the Oracle of the Sibyls, that in BC times, it is a direct reflection of the book of Revelation that you say is not influenced by Greek philosophies?
What is a direct reflection?
Okay,
hold on.
Let's pull it up side by side.
Are you saying it was plagiarized?
Yes. Let me pull it up.
Ask your question. No. Just ask your question. Give them a minute to answer it.
Yeah, like for real, bro. If you're
all right, go ahead, answer. How do you explain? Let me ask it like this. How do you explain?
Can he be quiet for a second, bro? How many questions he gonna ask me?
Well, I'm trying to clarify the question.
Let him clear it up. He want to clear it. He want to clear it so we can all hear it.
How do you explain the direct quotes from the oracles of Sibyl in the book of Revelation? If one is written in BC and you say this was written in 90 AD, but it's not plagiarized. How do you explain that?
There is no direct quote.
He got a minute. Go ahead, Yara.
There is no direct quote. You made that up, and your source, and I'll allow you to pull it back up. Your source does not say it's a direct quote. It says it has similants to it. That is not plagiarism. That is not a direct quote. You're lying. You're lying. That's my answer. It does not exist.
Next question, Lex.
Hold on a second. I got to pull something up. Stop my. Oh, yeah. Are we on the time limit?
No, go ahead. You get another question. Then I go back to Elder Yara.
Yeah. 1 second. Let me get it. All right. All right. Okay, here we go. Could you share this?
All right, you got to be asking a question.
Yeah. So Yara, it says, I am the Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end, which was, is, and shall be. That is the mysteries of Isis and Osiris. Now, let me pull up the book of Revelation. Hold on, you don't have it up, sa.neter.
Oh, see, you got two screens up. I'm thinking you. I don't know what you're sharing, bro.
I am the Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end, which was and is and shall be. Now, let me unshare that. And let me pull up what's in the book of Revelation. I am the Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the ending, saith the Lord, which is, which was, and which is to come, the Almighty. Is that a plagiarism, sir?
Give him a minute to answer. Go ahead, Yara.
No, it is not a plagiarism, because what you're quoting from the book of Sybil right there, that is not a direct quote from Sybil, because that work has been lost. You don't even know where they found it. That is someone's interpretation of it that says it closely aligns. If you go to what you should do, what you have to do, Lex, is go to the original writing of the Sibyls, where they claim they found that quote, and compare it to the book of Revelation. It does not read the way you just read it.
Have you, bro? You
didn't even know. No, let him go. You got to let him go. He got a minute.
Okay.
You have to show. You must show and prove that, Lex.
Okay.
Show and prove the original writing that came from in Sybil, and compare it to the verse in Revelation. It's not the same quote.
Okay.
All right. It's your turn to ask Lex a question.
Okay. Yeah. I'm gonna take a real page real quick. Let me share my screen real quick. I'll just share my screen.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Can you see it?
Yep, your screen is up.
Okay. You talked about St. Augustine in the Church Fathers. My statement when I said that the Church Fathers did not agree with Platonism. Let me read to you from the quote that you misquoted from St. Augustine, as you always do, and you've been doing all night. St. Augustine, 354 to 430 CE, in his writing, in his work, The Doctrine of Christianity, or Christiana, a treatise that played an enormous role in shaping Western education, provides an interesting passage in Book 2. In it, Augustine responds to the charge that Jesus Christ derived his teachings from Plato, drawing on his mentor, St. Ambrose, right? But what did he say? He denies the charge and responds that it was actually Plato who borrowed from the Jewish thinkers.
Mm-hmm.
So with this particular text, can you go back into what you read and show us about St. Augustine, and show us that that's the actual quote that St. Augustine read, in contrast to what St. Augustine wrote in this work right here, the doctrine of Christianity.
Right. So what you're reading is directly related to Christ being from Plato. In it, Augustine responds to the charge that Jesus Christ derives his teachings from Plato, drawing his mental St. Ambrose. He denies the charge, responds that Plato actually borrowed from Jewish thinkers. Again, if I take you to the quote of Augustine, that wasn't the claim. Let me show you. I just show you that he held Plato in high regard in terms of his relation to Christianity. Not that he said Christ. Because it's not, this is not just Christ. We're talking about the philosophy and whole and how it
Christ
affected
the center of Christianity?
No.
He's not?
Paul is the center of Christianity. But
so
let me show you.
So Christians are called Christians because of Paul and not Christ?
Facts. Not
prove that.
No, what I'm gonna show you here, but here's what
prove what you just said.
I'm about answering your first question. Listen, you're making an argument about Augustine.
Yes.
Listen, this is what he said. The utterance of Plato, the most pure and bright in all philosophy, scattering the clouds of error. There's no claim in here of Plato and Christ. This is just him talking about Plato. But he's not. But here is what he said. I found that whatever truth that I had read in the Platonists was in the writings of Paul.
Okay.
Combined with the exaltation. So he's not talking about Christ.
Combined with the exaltations of what?
All right, so hold on. So you lied. He said.
No, I just asked you a question.
All right,
no,
so
I just asked you a question.
All right, time. Lexx, ask y'all a question.
Okay.
I only asked. How many questions did he ask? Did I get that?
Hold on.
The first time y'all asked 2 questions, it's supposed to be 1-1, going back and forth.
All right, okay.
So I'm catching back up on it.
I got you.
Hold on a sec. Let me get it up. All right.
That man say Christians ain't got nothing to do with Christ.
No, that's not what I said. All right. Right here.
What you said.
No, I'm saying that Christianity is based more upon Paul's writing than even Christ's teachings. And that's scholars will tell you that. If I had time, we could go into that. But here we go. Galatians 5:23, y'all raw. Against such there is no law. Is that God's word?
What are you talking about?
Against such there is no law. Is that God's word?
Against what? No, that's just Paul talking.
That's not a revelation from God?
No, that's just Paul talking.
So Paul just made this up? It's not true?
What do you refer to? You just said against what there is no law.
Against such, this statement, is it Jesus
against what? That's an ambiguous statement. Against what? Against such, against what?
You got to answer my question, sir.
I'm answering your question.
All right, stop for a minute. Ask the question, Lex. Ask your question.
Is this the word of God in the Bible that Paul wrote?
What word you talking about? So you know what
Galatians 5:23.
Okay.
No, that's Paul writing.
Oh, so now you understand why I said
because it's an epistle.
All right, now
hold on, Galatians.
Hold on. You answered. You answered.
No.
Man,
you gotta give him a minute. You gotta give him a minute.
Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So in Galatians, when you anything you see that Paul wrote, they're all his epistles. Those are Paul's letters.
Okay.
Those are not scripture. Those are Paul's letters.
Okay, I got you. So the New Testament is.
Let him finish. Let him finish.
So when Paul is writing these letters, Paul is always incorporating what he's trying to convey. So just as you would write a letter, are those the words of God because you wrote a letter?
I got you. Can I finish with my question?
Go ahead.
No, it's his turn to ask the question.
Bro,
but Lex, you can't be cutting him off. You got to wait until I say ask the question. You got to let him go for a minute.
Because it was a leading question to.
Okay, go ahead, and then I'm gonna let him give you 2 questions.
The reason why I asked you that is because this is words from Aristotle. Against such there is no law, for they themselves are the law. You said that Paul did not like Greek philosophers. Right. Why is he quoting Aristotle?
He's not quoting Aristotle.
Let him go. He got a minute.
He's not quoting Aristotle. When he says there is no such law, Paul is talking about the law. He's talking about against the law of Moses. Aristotle ain't talking about the law of Moses. So how is he quoting Aristotle?
Because he said his words.
But he didn't. Where did Aristotle say anything about the law of Moses?
Where do you see the law?
No, it's his. No. You got to answer the question, Yara.
Right.
You asking him a question.
I answered his question.
So this is not a quote. Against
that
such
is
there is
not
no law.
a quote from that is not a quote from Aristotle. Paul is talking about there's no such thing against the law. Aristotle was not talking about the law of Moses. So how is that a quote from him? That's ridiculous.
All right, Elder Yara, your last question to Lex.
What is wrong with this guy? Okay, so again, my last question. In all of Paul's teachings, did Paul teach Christ for salvation?
You got a minute, Lex. Let's go.
All right, here we go. Paul says, are you with me, Yara?
Yes, we hear you.
But I see another law in my members, warring against the law of my mind and bringing me into captivity to the law of sin, which is in my members. Plato says there is a victory and defeat, the first and the best of victories, the lowest and worst of defeats, which each man gains and sustains at the hands not of another, but of himself. This shows that there is a war against ourselves going on in every individual of us. My question, Yara, is there an eerie similarity between these two statements as far as you're concerned?
No, they're not, because Paul is talking about two completely different things, right? When Paul says there's another law in my member, Paul is talking about the sin, the thoughts of iniquity that would go against the teachings of the Torah. No Greek philosopher is talking about sin that goes against the teachings of the Torah. In order for you to keep proving influence in this debate, which you haven't been able to do all night, and this is why I keep trying to tell people and tell you that in order for influence to be proven in this text and in this debate, you have to show where it changed their behavior. Paul still kept the law. Paul still kept the Sabbath. Paul still, as you said, he didn't commit circumcision. We know. I'm going to take you right now and show you that Paul performed circumcision on Timothy. He never taught against circumcision. He taught against circumcision for the Greeks. Kill yourself. Why? Because the promise wasn't given to the pagans. It wasn't given to the Greeks.
All right, time. All right, brothers. Man, powerful. We are on our last leg here. Elder Yara, you got 5 minutes in your closing to prove to the people that you came here to prove what the topic is. It's on you. You got 5 minutes, brother. And I want you to know that we are live now on the air on YouTube. So I always give the closeout live on the air. That's where the after party is at. Let's go. You got 5 minutes.
No doubt. No doubt. Can you see my screen, sa.neter?
Yes, the screen is up.
All right. So again, 21 biblical scholars are in support of the Hebraic influence and origins of the New Testament, from linguistics to biblical authorities and all other scholars, right? 21. He was on here earlier talking about PhD scholars. He talked about 1 or 2. I have 21 that tells you this. Let me make it a little bit bigger so I can blow it up and read it for you. Matthew Black, an Aramaic approach to the Gospels and Acts. Number 2, David Biven and R.B. Blitzer, understanding the difficult words of Jesus' entirety. E.W. Ballinger, the companion scriptures. They talk about the Hebraic origin of the New Testament, right? D.F.C. Burkett, the earliest sources for the life of Jesus. These that he spoke Aramaic. Let me keep going. Pages 25 and 29. Professor C.F. Burney, the Aramaic origin of the fourth gospel. And